Hey guys, thanks for listening to The Cynical Nerd. Please keep in mind that we do not avoid spoilers for any of our topics, whether they are current or past media. Listen at your own risk.
There's a very good chance that I'm going to have to... I took a suspiciously small poop after dinner tonight. Like, it felt like it should have been a lot more. I don't, like, feel more poop in there, but it didn't seem the appropriate amount, you know?
I mean, you're losing weight, you know?
I'll just go with that in hopes that I don't shit myself like I almost did in front of my fiance's mom yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good story. I like that story.
Yeah, I almost did it.
Where'd you go?
We went to the zoo, and Odin slept through the whole thing because he's an asshole. And then right as we were walking out, he woke up. Anyway, we went to this restaurant, nice place. But you know how like upscale restaurants, like they douse everything in oil because it makes it taste delicious?
Right, of course.
This oil cuts through my body like it's nothing. Like it just moves past everything else. It's like my body just wants to get rid of it. So anytime I eat somewhere where it's like fancy schmancy, I'm happy to have eaten there, but I have the shits like crazy. So we actually tried to leave twice, and I had to ask her mom to turn around so that I could go back into the restaurant and like say, like wave to the owner, go, hey, go to use the bathroom again, and take a shit. And then, and I felt so bad because I set us back by like 20 minutes. So we're in the car. We're like, it takes like half an hour to get home. And so we're probably like 6 or 7 minutes away. I'm in the middle of talking to my future mother-in-law. She asked me some question about my mom or something. And I went, you know, like, blah, 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 and then I just went like, oh, shit. And she's like, what? I was like, I have to shit again. It's like, you don't have to stop this time, but I have to stop talking so that I don't shit myself in the back of your car. And she was really understanding. She put on the Beatles, a band that I hate, thinking that it would relax me, but I knew that it came from a place of love and attempt to get me to stop me from shitting myself in her brand new car. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Lil.
It's how I feel. Like last night, I was like, oh, I gotta watch Hellraiser for the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm watching it from a place of love, but then I watched it angrily the whole time. Not angrily. I actually don't have bad things to say about it. I have to be honest, but we have a lot to talk about before we get there. I'm jumping the gun, as people say. First and foremost, look at me.
People
I'm
do
cooler than everybody else that you know because I have a Pixel Watch.
Oh, that is
that
cool,
came in today.
Actually. There was a time like not long ago, 2-3 years ago, I would relentlessly make fun of you for wearing a watch like that. And this is how far I've come. I'm actually jealous. I think it's cool.
Now you just tell the person that you secretly think less of them.
No, I'm saying at one point I would have. Now I don't.
Oh, okay.
I think more of you now.
Listen,
but it is also weird. I had to let you know that at one point I would have thought less of you.
Derek and Chris, your beloved co-hosts, we're in the middle of Hot Boy Fall. I'm coining it. We're losing weight. We're doing Sober October. You know. Yeah. Look, I had to. Now I've told you this off pod, which means I have to repeat myself now to anyone and everyone who will listen. I've been thinking about getting a Fitbit or some other kind of step tracking device for quite some time. I've never been a watch person. Last watch I had was the remember the Pebble? It was like the first e-watch. It was like they kickstarted it and all this shit.
Again, I thought they were corny. Remember, I only recently came around to them,
I know.
so I wasn't.
That's fine. It's fine. I was being made fun of by you back then. I paid into the Kickstarter. I actually had a Kickstarter Foundation edition of the Pebble.
That makes it so much worse.
Actually, hey, you guys want to see my Pebble watch?
I was an initial crowdfunder on this piece, actually.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting.
But I mean, the moral of the story is I didn't wear a watch before that, and I wore it for like 2 months, and I put like a Star Wars background on there, and I thought I was cool, and then I just got rid of it, never touched it again. But lately I've been thinking I want something to at least monitor my heart rate, and I can also wear this overnight. It tells you insights into like how you're sleeping, which I've always wanted to do, because they have like mobile apps for your phone, but they want you to like turn your room into a fire hazard to use it. They're like, put your phone under your pillow while it's charging.
Risk your life for these metrics.
Anyway, like 3 weeks after I started toying with the notion of getting a Fitbit or something else, they announced this, and it's got Fitbit integration, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I already have a Pixel phone. Anyway, before we get too far into it, very important announcement about the podcast, and that is fuck HBO.
We're done with them. I forgot about this whole thing. Yeah, fuck you, HBO.
We are no longer shilling. We've returned every cent of the money they sent us.
Mm-hmm.
That is a factually accurate statement.
It is.
We have returned every dollar that
legally
they sent
defensible
us.
Statement.
Yeah, that is a legally defensible statement. I have returned any money they may have sent us for advertisements over the years. I mean, it's been going on for a while. Our love tryst with HBO Max. The reason I say fuck HBO, and I'll take you through the whole thing, is our merch store is up. And not only is our merch store up, we have like 4 or 5 shirt designs already because I've been busting my fucking ass for you guys.
Very hard. I've been doing nothing at all. I've just been looking at him and going, yeah, that one looks good.
He's good emotional support. It really helps me out. On top of that, we've set up some stuff. You're going to start to hear advertisements for the podcasts because we're putting on our big boy britches and starting to network. So there's actually going to be our first trailer at the end of this one. You're getting free advertisements for a podcast called Fire Breathing Kittens. It's a D&D podcast. I'm going to play that at the end of the podcast right before we roll out. So you can hear it if you want to stick around or fast forward now and
listen to it now and then come back.
Anyway, we have a couple shirt designs up. We have Cad Bane Glory Hole, which I'm immensely proud of. We have the original Cynical Nerd logos with no tune versions, and we have a tune version up of me and Derek. And then we had an idea based off of last week's podcast, where our thumbnail for the podcast was Hot D in the Pornhub logo. We're going to put that on a shirt on the front, Cynical Nerd on the back. I was so super proud of this simple design. I thought it was going to sell really well. I fucked this up. I want you all to know that I'm aware that it was my fault. On Twitter, I posted about it, and I tagged the House of Dragon handle, which I should not have done. That was my mistake because we're spoiler alert, we're a tiny podcast, and if I hadn't tagged them, they probably would have flew right under the radar. But I tagged them with some funny hashtags, which I'm sure in retrospect they were like, fuck these
probably
guys.
Didn't help. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably made it worse. And if you follow us on Twitter, if you don't, you should. But if you do, you saw the tweets back and forth. We get a cease and desist for the shirt design.
Yeah.
Like within 60 minutes, which was just
it's an honor. I feel like HBO came for me. They came at me. It makes me feel. It just pumped my dick out a little bit. I feel like the vein on the front of it is just a little more pronounced now.
I 100% agree with you. It makes me feel like a real boy.
Yeah, we're a real podcast now.
We're actually going to talk about Pinocchio later, so I connected those dots. Thank you. I'll be here all night. Anyway, if you want to check out our merch stuff, it's at we're hosting it with TeePublic. I've used them before, so it's teepublic.com/user/the-cynical-nerd, or don't remember that because fuck all that URL nonsense. You can just look at any of our socials, and the merch link is in our About Me. We're gonna probably put it in the description of the podcast because I want people to wear this stuff. I just want you all to know we make absolutely shit margins on the stuff because we're hosting it through a third-party site because they handle the shipping and the production, which means we make like literally $2 a t-shirt. But I don't care because I want
you to wear our stuff.
I want you to wear our stuff. I put money back into my own pocket, which doesn't make any sense because I had spent it. I have a mug coming for next week. I was hoping the shirts would be here.
Yeah, I gotta get a mug still. I actually haven't gotten a shirt either. Did you get the Hot Dads one? Because I feel like we should both have that one. I feel like that's a critical one.
Yeah, I got the hot. So we replaced the Hot D design with Hot Dads. It's still in the Pornhub logo, which is still funny. Hot D would have been better, but whatever. I just want. TeePublic their legal team was so super nice to me, even though we have a pathetic little store that at that point had not sold a single design yet because I had just put it up. And they told us there was a DMCA notice, and I was a little aggravated when I responded back, and I said, this is kind of a joke.
Yeah.
There are designs on TeePublic's site that are literally like House Targaryen. Like they're not fucking HBO licensed. Like they are very brazen. And they basically just said, hey, we don't want any legal trouble. They put out a notice. If it's like legit, we follow it. So, we took it down. I said, okay, thank you for your, your time. Anyway, that was a long way of saying go buy our stuff. Thank you.
Do it. I have 2 issues before you go any further.
Issue number 1.
So issue number 1, I have to poop. Issue number 2 is
No!
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but Ron had Odin all day today, and was really cranky, and now he's waking up and screaming, and I can't just listen to him scream and let her deal with it. So I'm gonna.
Okay.
Is he good? Oh, I was just coming out.
Oh.
Okay.
He's fine.
Like looking for the door hole.
Okay.
To see
Perfect.
what he was doing.
Still have to take care of the shit though. So do you want me to stop recording or?
No, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
talk to the kids. I'm gonna tell them a story. So this is a story all about. I'm kidding. Anyway, it gives me a good opportunity to say hi, hello, welcome to the Cynical Nerd. I'll introduce Derek once he gets back. He's one of my best friends in the whole wide world, and I hope when he hears that he goes "aw" and he sheds a little Derek tear. Hi, Ron. I can see you in the background. You just got back. What are those Arctic 7 white headphones? I'm kidding. Anyway, you can follow us on Twitch. That's not true. You can follow us on Twitter. That's the one I meant to say. Facebook, TikTok. It's all at the Cynical Nerd. We have the same tag across the spectrum. All right, you're back.
I'm back.
What was I talking about? I don't fucking know. Go buy stuff from us. But I already showed our socials. We're ready to go. I was actually reading an article.
Ready.
We're fucking ready. I was reading an article about something that we'll talk about later.
Okay.
It involves, surprise, feet. Okay.
All right.
But you can't guess what that's about. Okay, so we've got Week in Review to go through this week. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about Week in Review. We've only got 3 trailers, keeping it light, and then we have main topics. I'm going to talk about the She-Hulk finale very, very briefly. Talk about Andor episode. Ooh, I forgot what this week's Andor episode was, and boy, I want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Hot D last night?
I watched Hot D. I watched Andor.
Okay, cool.
I'm up to date.
You watched Hot Feet? Okay.
Yeah.
Hellraiser and Clerks 3, and I'm very interested to talk actually probably about all of them. So we'll go through. A couple of these, our Week in Review section to us on paper looks more intimidating than it is because some of these are just movie delays. We're going to ratchet through them really quickly. And in fact, this first one is bumping up of a theatrical release for Dune 2. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't say one thing before we continued any further, Derek.
Please say it before we continue any further, Chris.
That's welcome to episode 83. I always
83.
announce it in the beginning, and I didn't do it, and I'm so very sorry. 83 of the Cynical Nerd. I don't know if anyone caught it last week. Probably not. But if you look at our titles for last week's episode, it is different on every platform that you look at it on.
I forgot about that.
I think that it's a wonderful inside joke.
Yeah.
You should all tell us how funny you think we are. On our website, it is listed as Party Constantine. On YouTube, it's Pastry Caroline. And I totally forget what it is.
Yeah, something concubine.
Yeah, something concubine elsewhere. Anyway, I was very proud of that, and I want you all to be very proud of that. And back to what we were talking about. Dune 2 Electric Boogaloo was moved up. It will now arrive sooner than what you'd expected. And we just talked about Dune last week.
Yeah. Did we? The companion show that was dropping.
They have a series coming out on the service that shall no longer be named on our podcast.
Because we're done with them.
Yeah, it rhymes with never mind. Well, I was gonna say went immediately to the harshest thing I could think of, and it's not appropriate. Anyway,
it's a good idea. Just got to skip right past those thoughts.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta bury them down deep and hope they don't come up in therapy later.
Yeah.
According to the Hollywood Reporter, Dune Part 2, as I have decided to coin it, is now set. Folly.
By Dennis Villeneuve.
That's all you have to do to break me, apparently, because I can't look at you here. I'm gonna play Folly Idea. Now set to arrive 2 weeks ahead of schedule. November 3rd was previously supposed to arrive November 7th. Who cares? It's arriving like half a month earlier.
Yeah.
This news
it's not
would
like
have
it's
been
a year early or something. It's
right.
like
This
2 weeks from a year away.
way more interesting to me if they had announced this shift like a month before it came out, and I was so stoked that it was now coming out next week. But that's not
the case. That's not
what's
happening
happening here.
That's not what we're dealing with. It's still cool. I'm just happy it's happening because the first one was really good. I actually want to rewatch it. Stop me if I already said this in the last podcast, but Veronica, I don't think so because I think it was just a few nights ago. We rewatched Blade Runner 2049. Fucking.
You told me, and I don't remember if you said it on the podcast.
Yeah,
Who
so
cares?
I won't go into depth, but it was incredible. It was
ourselves.
really, really, really just awesome to watch.
Gorgeous.
We stayed up till like 1 a.m. watching it on like a Wednesday.
Whoa.
It was a nightmare the next day, but worth during. And it made me want to rewatch the first one. I can't wait for this. I don't know how much of. I actually started to read the book after I watched Dune 1 and.
Right.
Like a lot of books, I gave up on it about a third of the way. And
okay.
So my understanding is that like the Dune 1 ends only about a quarter of a third of the way into the first book. So I don't know how much this is going to cover. I don't know if they're going to do a trilogy. We'll see, but I'm here for it. God damn. He is just one of my favorite directors right now. He's so good.
Oh yeah. He's a honey.
He's a honey bunny.
He's a honey. Denis.
Honey Denis.
Close enough. All you really need to remember about the sequel is that Christopher Walken is playing the fucking Emperor.
Oh, yeah, shit. I forgot about that. Yeah.
About all that needs to be said about that topic. All right. So this is what I meant by when I said we have a run of like updates. Marvel it just recently, a couple months ago, had D23, Disney, and before that, Comic-Con, where they announced a bunch of release dates for all of their upcoming projects. And they have now promptly delayed all of them. Not all of them. Like Wakanda Forever still comes out next month and shit. This first one, though, is a reported release date for Spider-Man 4. And the only reason, Derek, the only singular reason, not singularity, singular. We're not talking about the rise of AI. We're talking about Spooderman.
Right. Of course.
Played by Tom Holland. The only reason I bring this up is because
we should start stressing the wrong syllable on every actor's name.
I have a coworker who listens to the podcast, maybe not religiously, but he's listened to several, so much so that I bought him a t-shirt.
What's his first name?
Brian.
Hey, Brian. What's up, Bry guy? Hope we're cool enough to do that.
Hey,
it's a one-way conversation. This is a recording, so it's too late, Bry guy.
Yeah. That he... Anyway, I don't even know what the fuck I was saying. Spider-Man 4. After the first three came
Brian.
out.
God damn it.
Yeah, fuck you. I don't even remember what the point of my... Oh, he stresses the wrong syllable all the time. That's how old I'm getting.
Right.
He started a story and he immediately forgot where it was going.
Right.
That's like going out in the morning and starting your car and then forgetting where you have to go.
Right. That would be pretty extreme, though, to not know where you were going at 6:30 in the morning on a weekday, but I'm with you. I feel the analogy.
Extreme analogies is, I mean, why does Hitler get brought up into every conversation ever? That's what you do.
Kind of like this one, kind of like you just did. It was very meta.
You're welcome. So Spider-Man, after No Way Home came out, there was rumors that Holland might want to take a little bit of a break from it. Whether or not you believed that, I kind of did, not necessarily because he wanted to take a break, because I don't think he has any say in the matter, besides the amount of money he's going to get. I just thought that they were going to take a little bit of a breath and figure out where a Spider-Man who's got, spoiler alerts, basically no real ties to his personal life is going to end up in the MCU. You know, what kind of stories they're going to tell, because there were all these jokes how I believe Ned Leeds, his best friend in the show, movies, does actually turn into like the Hobgoblin villain or something in the comics. And they were like, well, now that he doesn't remember who he is, what if that's the twist? Like he becomes a bad guy. And I'm like, he's such a goofy character.
Yeah, I would hate that.
That I don't think I can take it seriously. Yeah. I'd be like, he'll be like, oh, finally, it's time. And he'd be like, dude, we built like a Lego Death Star together, you fucking nerd.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
You should be my guy in the chair, idiot. Get behind a computer, nerd. Anyway, those rumors, if this report is true, would be completely false, because Spider-Man 4 is reportedly eyeing a release window of 2024, which would be relatively soon. I mean, that's soon enough that we would expect to hear an announcement probably in the next 6 months, which would put it somewhere right at the end of like the MCU's Phase 5, which as of right now is going to include like 6 other films. So who knows? I just wanted to bring it up.
So wait, is Spider-Man 4, I'm sorry, is that like totally well, I know it's announced, but like the release date is not announced.
No, the release is all
okay.
speculación, which is Spanish for speculation.
Right, of course, yeah. Now, we're a bilingual podcast here,
yeah. Yeah, of course.
I just think it's dumb. Like, so I know that they moved around like like you said, they delayed pretty much every movie they announced.
We're going to rail through them too. Rail them.
Like 6 months. So I'm sorry. I'll let you list those off before I talk shit on roadmaps.
Okay. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here, but I'm going to run through them really quickly. And then we have a casting announcement at the end, which is weird. So a couple of things. They've pushed back Fantastic Four. It was announced to premiere November 8th, 2024. It will now come out February 14th, 2025. So we're talking a 3.5 months here. There are also others that have been delayed. Deadpool 3, which is actually the most recent to be announced. Like we just talked about the video with him and Hugh Jackman like 2 weeks ago. It was originally set to release September 6th, 2024. It's now pushed back to November 8th, 2024. Same year, a couple months, not a huge deal there, 2 months. Avengers Secret Wars will just no longer be released in 2025. It is being moved from November 7th, 2025 to May 1st, 2026. So quite a ways for that one, which is totally fine because when they announced it, it was Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty were going to be pretty close together.
Yeah.
And I think someone at Marvel after the announcement went, wait.
Don't we want the one that comes out first to make money?
Yeah, we want them to make money. We don't want to fatigue people with big team up films back to back. And the last one, which is actually honestly the saddest for me because I was looking forward to it the most, the Mahershala Ali led Blade film has been delayed. I don't see an original release date here, but it is now scheduled to be released on September 6th, 2024, which took the spot of what Deadpool 3 would have been. Yeah. So they pushed everything back, but that was also pushed back. Oh, okay. It was originally supposed to hit November 3rd, 2023. So that's another almost a year delay. And so that's all the delays. So Fantastic Four, Deadpool 3, Avengers Secret Wars, and Blade.
Mahershala Ali has like come out. I was reading an article. This was a while ago where he was talking about the production of the movie was like emotionally taxing on him. How much things were changing around, and like every day it'd be like, oh, this is actually what's happening. Oh, that's happening now. Oh, that's just never a good sign. Like that, I don't know. I just think that this roadmap thing that like not only for movies, but video games too. We were talking about with CD Projekt Red, how weird it was, how some of the stuff that they had no information on, they were just releasing that they were doing it so far ahead of time. And the more you think about it, you know why. You know it's for like the investors and stockholders and all this shit. So they're generating interest so that people talk about it, so that it's like, even though it's not coming out for 4 or 5 years, it's like the thing that's the topic of conversation. And that's annoying. That's like Bethesda announcing Elder Scrolls 6 like how many years ago, and there's not even a fucking trailer for it yet. It's just crazy to me that people are like, oh, this is what we're working on, it'll be out in 5 years. What? I think the best thing you can do, says the person who is recording his voice and opinion and then putting it onto the internet so that everybody can hear it, I think the best thing you can do is shut the fuck up about this kind of stuff when they announce it. Same thing with CD Projekt Red with their games. So they're like, oh, this will be out in 2029. It's just like they're just giving you scraps, and they just expect you to fucking talk about it for literally for years.
Yeah.
And then when it comes out, it could never possibly live up to the expectation that you spending years at a time talking about it built up to. So that's the only, like, I see people defending it, and it's not like it's totally incorrect. They go, oh, well, why don't you try mapping out a mega billion-dollar company's, like, you know,
I don't want to
release schedule. It's like, yeah, but like if you had the right people, you wouldn't have to do multiple release schedules. Like if it's not ready, just don't fucking announce it. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't get it.
No, we're right and everyone else is wrong. That's how they should do it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Should listen to a TCN opinion. Thing.
I can almost hear your brain trying to think of something to tag on the end of it.
What is it called in a newspaper? It's like called the opinion something.
The opinion column.
Column. That's what it is.
Oh,
I kept
found
wanting
it.
to say label, but I knew that wasn't it.
The column nerd. Got it. Nailed it. Anyway, the columnal nerd. Anyway, last but not least, Harrison Ford joins Captain America 4. This is a weird one.
Yeah.
So, okay, first off, rest in peace to
Harrison
the guy
Ford, because he's so old. He's not going to make it to this movie.
Old bag of shit. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to William Hurt, who was playing Thunderbolt Ross. The character was fine. He was a good actor. The character was whatever. He barely did anything. He showed up a couple times. He looked stern-faced. Famously, one of the earliest kind of like cross-film tie-ins was at the end of Edward Norton's Hulk movie.
I didn't know he died. That's how I found out.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Now I know.
Rip Ross.
Oh, no. Have to cancel my appointment to his book signing.
Rip Ross.
William, I hurt myself today.
Did you not get the Rick Ross reference there? Because I didn't.
I was ripping in my own head, so I just tuned you out. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was really proud of that. Anyway, Rip Thunderbolt Ross, aka William Hurt. That's his real life name. Trying to make this happen. I'm sorry, but there's only two of us here. He was playing Thunderbolt Ross, who really was like plot dressing. He was the stern-faced military guy, but he played that role well.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, he was one of the earliest like cross superhero teasers. At the end of the Hulk, Ed Norton starred in it. I think the stinger scene at the end of the teaser, a post-credits scene, whatever you want to call it, was a bar that he was drinking in. Tony Stark came in, and he more or less talked about like Stark helping him rein in the Hulk, which never really came to fruition.
Yeah.
Because back then they were just throwing shit at a wall that was like tangentially related and going like, hey, they're in the same universe. It's all the whole point of that story was that Tony Stark showed up to remind you they were in the same place.
Yeah.
And then he showed up again later with a more important role where he was in charge of writing the Sokovia Accords. And I'm telling you all this that you already fucking know, just to say that he passed away. And as what some might call like a minor character in the MCU as a whole, they've recast him with someone more famous than William Hurt.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is why it struck me as weird, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. So I thought, get your exclusive hot takes here at TCN. I don't understand.
Even though he's more, here's what really hurts. Even though he's way more famous.
Was that a pun on his name?
He's gonna put in 1/10 of the effort. That guy, Harrison Ford, doesn't give a shit about any role anymore.
No.
He's like, give me my 10 million and leave me the fuck alone for 2.5 years.
The only thing Harrison Ford cares about is crashing his Cessna on a golf course. Sorry, too soon.
Yeah, who let the 70-year-old fly the fucking plane? Let's talk about that for a second.
I mean, he was just practicing for the sequel to Air Force One. Oh man, I feel like I'm on fire right now. The moral of the story is fuck you, Harrison Ford. Anyway, the moral of the story really is just it's weird to me. So there's a team named after him in the comics called the Thunderbolts. That's why that movie is coming out, I presume. Yeah. I mean, also we know that Julia Marie Dreyfus, or whatever her name is. I'm so sorry I probably butchered it.
That's what it is.
I think that's right. Right?
I certainly don't know any better.
But I was waiting for someone to actually us in the email. By the way, questions at thecynicalnerd.com, or you can hashtag #FuckTCN on Twitter. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing wrong.
We like to be fucked.
Yeah, I like interaction. Give me your. I crave it. I crave your attention, whether good or bad. I'm like my son. Nailed it. Go to your room. Anyway. Presumably, they cast Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross because he's going to have a decent role moving forward. it's just weird to recast this deceased actor with someone arguably more famous. I'm trying to think of an example. It's like recasting Black Panther with like Eddie Murphy, right? Like,
yeah. It'd be like, oh, okay.
yeah, rip Chadwick Boseman, welcome Eddie Murphy, and you're like, wait, what? That feels
which would
not
be
good.
great to go see in theaters. So I almost wish that they did that.
Yeah. What's the name of the Panther god? I fucking forget.
I don't know.
Here's the joke that was building in my head. I was gonna do the name, Bast. I think that's the name. I think that's the name of the Panther god. Pretty sure my nerd brain just kicked in and reminded me. I was gonna do that deity's name in the Hercules voice. Bast, but it's one syllable. Doesn't work.
Right.
You need like
you need a couple. You need a couple there.
You need a couple syllables.
I feel like the episode thumbnail should be Black Panther with Eddie Murphy's head, though. I feel like that's set in stone.
Oh, okay. Oh, that might.
Yeah,
out of
that might not
context.
be good. Yeah. No, that'll get them to listen to the episode.
But I wonder if there's any. I'll have to go look if there's any screenshots anywhere of Thaddeus Ross and Black Panther in the same image. Fuck it, I'll just crop them together. Who cares?
There you go.
I'll put Harrison Ford. I'll just blop his face in a dead guy's body. Who cares? Fuck it. He's almost a dead guy himself.
Yeah, he's getting there.
That's why they cast him.
We're just gonna keep recasting this character.
No, he was method acting when he went in for the audition. I was like, oh shit, you're on the way out.
Oh, you're gonna die soon. All right. Yes.
All right.
Where do I sign?
I'm done making fun of dead people. And by the way, I'd like everyone to note for the legal record, so this can be used in court. This is, again, it's a legally defensible statement. We did not throw one joke toward Chadwick Boseman. That man is a honey.
Yeah.
I miss him dearly.
Wonderful,
Rest in peace. Also, I found that video you were talking about like a week or two ago.
Oh, with the kid in the crowd.
You're
Oh my God,
an asshole.
Yeah.
I cried for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch because at the time you're just like, oh, he cares about these kids so much, and now you're like, oh, he was dying and he knew it and he was really sad.
So I found that one, which was like at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Which was actually kind of hard to find because if you search like him talking about kids or talking to kids, you actually find on like it was like a Sirius XM interview. Fucking dogs like rolling around. I thought someone ran in the room. By the way, Grayson's probably gonna come say goodnight. I told him it was the last night he was allowed to do that because me being a film nerd, he has to complete the trilogy, right? So tonight's the last time.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm so good at losing my own track of fucking thought. It's incredible.
And I certainly can't keep it for you.
Yeah, no, you're useless too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
yeah, I don't even know where I was going. Let's move on.
Let's do it.
We have a lot to cover.
Send it.
Fucking send it. We're getting close to the end of our weekend review though. I told you. We're going to blast right through those announcement release dates. This is a two-parter. It's about a bunch of salty internet nerds. I'm on the fence about it, but Jesus, I'm going to fucking throw something at these animals that keep scaring the shit out of me. No Man's Sky officially released on the Switch, and with that, they released another update to the game where they tweaked a bunch of components. They basically said, look, our mentality was we're releasing it on a new platform, and we want to sort of make sure that everything makes sense. Like they tried to come at it from a new player perspective. How does the inventory look? How does your technology upgrades scale? You know, they just tried to look at everything all together, and they made another huge list of fucking updates to it and changes. All of that sounds great on paper. Apparently, they've also done some nerfs to the game, which angered a bunch of nerds. It's certainly how I got rich in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they introduced a couple updates ago the ability to farm minerals from planets. You could go there, you could scan, you would find underground reservoirs of minerals, basically. And then you need to connect these harvesters that were automated to a source of power. I'm giving you the short version. Trust me. And what you would look for is so this activated indium sold for like 1,000 a piece. So you get a stack of like 400. It's a lot of change.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of change.
Those are change.
I haven't said that in a while.
Yeah.
We're going to bring that back.
Revisit that.
So what you want is you have to, it only shows up on a certain color star system, and you want to find a activated indium. What would I call, like, reservoir, I guess, within range, because you only can build things in a certain radius from like a base computer, within range of some place that you can farm energy. So basically you're looking at like an automated farm. You put generators over here within range of an activated indium farm, and then you build a portal to get back a little tiny base, and then you just come back at your leisure and collect a bunch of shit that you can sell on the market and make a whole bunch of credits. That's how I got rich in that game.
I love that was the simple version. That's holy shit.
Really
I do
was
not
the
want to hear
version.
the advanced version at all.
So anyway, so then you have to connect each generator with cable. No, I'm just kidding. And it's tricky because you have to line it up along the terrain. I actually had a lot of fun setting that farm up, but I will admit something. The game, ever since that point, has never felt challenging to me. And I don't play that game for it to be challenging, but there's something to be said about, I can't get the best upgrades yet because I have to farm the money. I have to do some missions. I have to do some group activities. I have to, there were certain other components you could make by farming crops and like little domes in your base, but it was way more complex. It was like you have to grow some patches of these and some like 5 or 6 different crops and combine them into again. Don't want to bore you to death with the details. The moral of the story is No Man's Sky's devs obviously knew people were abusing activated indium, and they nerfed the ever-loving shit out of it. It is now worth so very little that like gold is worth more, which is very common to find. And a lot of people were crying about it. I am not one of them. They said they did it for the same reason that I understand why you would do it, which is that they didn't want the game to become easy and handed to you on a silver platter, and to take all the fun out of exploring, because people would set down roots and they would just farm money and then you just buy all the best shit and the game's over. You have nothing else to do, That's only a little part of what they did. It's a huge update. We're not going to repeat all the stuff here. Go look it up if you want to. There was a lot of crying about inventory spaces. Apparently they messed up a bunch of people's inventories, like the technology installed in their equipment, but it was all in the interest of like, we want to kind of reset the playing field and force everyone to get back into the game at the same sort of way, even if you had more than your fellow players. Anyway, long story short, bunch of nerds got mad, and you should all laugh at them whenever you see them.
I don't have a dog in the race. I don't play No Man's Sky, but actually an article coming up here is about Elden Ring. And those games, they rebalance a lot, and people whinge about it because they basically have stuff like, there was Bloodhound Step ability, there was Rivers of Blood, which was basically just like mash, left trigger until the boss is dead. It trivializes the game. Now, I think in like a single player game, there is a certain extent that it's like, well, it's not affecting online play. It's not making anyone else die any quicker. So like, whatever, just give me what I want. But at the same time, if like the I imagine in No Man's Sky, the idea of like getting more money to get more shit is like, you're supposed to be pulled into the rest of the world to find that shit. And if you're eliminating the need to do that by just like having this money pit, I just think it defeats the point of the game, in the same way that I think that having a game that's sold by the fact that it's difficult, and having these abilities and these weapons that just trivialize it ruins like the soul of the game. So I understand why they'd be patched out.
Right.
So Elden Ring has been changed so much that despite, I have a weird like there's like a weird duality to how I feel about Elden Ring. I think it's either the best or second best from soft game ever, but I also think it's the least replayable one, because it's just such a fucking undertaking. However, there's been so many changes that now I'm like, it feels like it's a radically different game, and I'm kind of like, some of those bosses that I killed, I think I did it in the cheap way, because I did it in the first or second build where like there were things then that made those fights easier than they should have been. So I don't know, a piece of me kind of wants to go back. I'm always for it when I'm not going to, but I'm just saying eventually at some point.
I can't lose you again.
Too many games that I'm playing right now I'm trying to get through. But there's your segue into the Elden Ring article.
I liked it, but you did, and I have to ruin it because I had one final thing to say.
Oh shit!
I forgot to mention like the whole point of the update besides the Switch launch. They also introduced new game modes, and basically it's it kind of nullifies all the whiny internet trolls. So they introduced like relaxed game mode, which promises reduced danger and minimal grind if you just want to have a chill space adventure. And you can also tweak almost every single aspect of the game now to your exact preference. You can tweak difficulty. You can tweak all individually. So you could have like a normal game and just turn the difficulty all the way down. They even allow you, because it's single player, to do things like make everything in the store really cheap. So making Activated Indium not something that you can just sell doesn't matter, because you can just turn down how much everything costs.
Oh, that's double dumb now.
So you're all dumb. Anyway, they introduced a bunch of shit. Apparently the inventory changes are welcome, but it just broke people's stuff and they were mad about that. And also you were talking about Elden Ring, so let's go back to that. As Derek so eloquently stated, they've been doing a lot of changes to Elden Ring, but they've done a recent massive combat overhaul, and there are some. So let me hit you with the term. Let me hit you with a phrase here. Data miners. That's somebody who will go dig into the game's files, and they will pick out shit that looks like it's a leak for future content, because they will often prep their future upgrades with patches and files, and they'll put the assets in the game ahead of time and all that good stuff. And they do that to make things easier. Otherwise, you don't have a huge chunk to download. They can piecemeal it with smaller updates. So data miners, after patch 107, is Odin being a crazy person?
Yes, yeah.
After patch 107, they think they know what's happening with future DLC. And I have to tell you, that makes me very excited. We've been waiting for a long time.
So wait, they know like the setting of the DLC?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
They only have hints that the DLC is coming up soon. So there's a couple people digging through the data. There were new maps and new map references discovered in the latest update files. Like almost like a new section might be unlocked, which was you imagine would be the case. I mean, it's an open world. They're probably going to add more open world.
Yeah.
The new maps are, and this is just code for how they're labeled in the file. So you're not meant to understand it so much as see the correlation. The new maps are M20 and M45. M20 has the same numbering as Legacy Dungeons. M45, however, brand new. Nothing else is named like it. So they're looking at new map chunks. That's the kind of work the data miners do. It's very grueling and whatever. They also, some people data mined out some new haircuts for people, stuff like that, new cosmetic changes. The juiciest discovery so far seems to be the addition of files related to the in-game Colosseums, which is funny.
Oh, right.
My first playthrough, I was like, what the fuck are all these giant Colosseums?
Yeah, why the
for?
fuck can't I get in there? Why is this big jar man keeping me from going in?
The first one I found obviously was in shit. What's the name of that zone?
Caelid?
No, first zone you're in. Limgrave. I was saying Linwood. I'm like, that's a place in New Jersey.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, Linwood.
It's to the, all the way to the right of the east of the castle. Yeah. I remember stumbling down there early on, and I got invaded right in front of it, and I was like, oh, this is the PvP area. I don't want to be anywhere near it. But it's not really true, which is timing for me. But the game is littered with giant Colosseums. Like you said, there's one in Caelid. There's one by the castle, I believe. They're littered all over the map that we currently can't enter, like you said. Though early after the game's release, modders were able to clip inside the map files and restore the associated content. I didn't know that, by the way, until this article.
Yeah.
What they found at the time was a storyline that suggested we might get a blast to the past. Says no more about that. They're internally referencing in the files names like Old Lines of the Arena, which is a sick fucking title. I'm very excited. The actual Elden Ring in-game lore descriptions note the Colosseums went out of use with the Age of Radagon and were considered an artifact of a more brutal time. The going theory was perhaps at some point From Software would either use time travel or somehow place us in an older version of the lands between. Plenty of other circumstantial evidence, such as cut files, suggest they originally intended and conceived of the story with time fuckery in mind, but I might have cut it. Anyway.
That's interesting because I think Farum Azula, which is where it's like the second to last place. It's where it's where you fight the Malekith, the dog with a sword, with all the floaty, crumbly pieces of the castle everywhere.
Okay.
That place like exists outside of time, or maybe in the past or something. And I don't know. There's some like you're in a time storm or something. And that's why you see chunks of building all over Limgrave. They're pieces of Farum Azula that fell. So time fucky wucky isn't too far outside of the wheelhouse of Elden Ring, and I deeply, steeply, I can't think of another word that rhymes with that, look forward to more DLC. After I beat Bloodborne, like I was just satiated with these games. So I was just like, all right, like I had like an addiction, and beating that, it was rough to get through that. I was like, okay, I'm done now. And I haven't really felt the need to return. I still have them installed. Not Elden Ring because it's humongous, but yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to nut all over it.
And just to sum it up, because I rambled about a bunch of stuff, they found new hair for DLCs, new maps from audio banks, M20 and M45. There's really no more info on that.
Mm-hmm.
New Colosseum map files, assets, and textures, and lots of subtle map changes, mostly at Divine Towers, which is also interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Moving on. More video game news, and then we'll circle back. Probably right before the trailers to the last piece that we're going to talk about, which is Black Adam's post-credit scene. I know it's not out yet, and your boys got tickets to go see it this weekend.
That's right.
We're gonna touch tips and lick dicks, and
TT and LD.
Yeah, but we're gonna talk about it. And I know that we have a spoiler alert at the beginning of every podcast by default. Derek's lovely, deep, dark, delicious, delectable voice. It's
hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Cynical Nerd. That's how it starts.
Oh, that's very good. I like it. But I'm going to give you an extra spoiler warning here because it is a spoiler for something that has not come out yet, which to some of you is completely unfair territory, and I understand that. So I'll tell you when it's going to happen. You can turn it off if you want to. Anyway, staying in the video game world, this is a shitty piece of news. Bayonetta 3 is out or will be out soon. I'm foggy on that because, quite frankly, I don't care. I'm not going to play it.
Yeah.
There, I said it.
You got it off your chest. It's been said. Can't take it back now. Can never unsay it.
I was waiting for you. Are you going to play it?
No, like I don't have an aversion to it, but I'm not
No.
I'm not gonna like. I think Nintendo owns the rights to it. I don't like to give them money when I don't have to.
Get a Steam Deck, emulate it.
That's true. I could shmemulate. I think
wait
I said
for
this
Tears of the Kingdom
on the. I really can't, honestly. I think it's gonna be good, but Bayonetta 1 I played back in the day. It was on 360 or something, and it was like pretty good. Like it was a fun game. Same fella that made Devil May Cry, I'm pretty sure, which also I just finally played through DMC5, and it was fun. And that's all I have to say about it. It's not, I saw they announced the second one, and I was like, no, I'm done now.
I am done with this.
On a rainy Sunday 10 years from now? Sure, maybe, but not on release. Certainly not.
Yeah. So this news is actually kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Bayonetta. Bayonetta voice actor Helena. I don't know if it's Helena or Helena. I'm going to say Helena.
I feel like
Helena Taylor.
Let's go with that.
Says she didn't reprise the role of Bayonetta 3 as she was only offered 1, not 2, not 3, but 4,000 doll hairs, which is not a lot of doll hairs.
Not a lot of buckaroons.
Especially when you're coming back for the third sequel in what I would call, I might not like it, but what I would consider a beloved franchise by plenty of basement dwelling nerds who probably fap to the large heels that she wears, and they wish that her heels will stomp down on their little baby dicks.
Yeah. I wish her heels would stomp on my little baby dick too, though. That's something me in the basement
but
dwellers.
Also dick.
Oh. I thought you said they're little baby dicks.
Okay.
Baby necks is somehow so much more insulting. Like if you really wanted to emasculate someone, get the fuck out of here, baby neck. There's something visible to everyone. You'd be like, all right, I'll leave.
I call them baby neck for an obscure reason because I got all that baby blubber on it. So it just makes me think of baby fat, you know? I don't know. Anyway,
Oh man, baby neck. That's loaded in the fucking chamber and ready to go. Can't wait to use it. Fuck off, baby neck.
Fucking baby neck. So anyway, Bayonetta voice actor Helena has said that she was only offered $4,000. She will not be reprising. Well, she did not. Sorry. Post haste, Post Malone. And then furthermore, she asked fans to boycott the game and instead donate to charity. And I know we crack jokes and we giggle. We have giggle fits.
Yeah.
Derek might have giggle shits if he's not careful.
It's true. It's very true. It happens.
But you should A, go follow Helena on Twitter, and B, also do what she says. If you're gonna, I mean, I'm 100% behind her. That is incredibly shitty, and honestly,
super shitty.
Really, 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 really not a good look for Nintendo.
It's just weird because then they got Jennifer Hale, who was like one of the biggest female VAs in the video game industry, and it's like, I know she didn't take 4K, so like you shafted this. Maybe that's why. Maybe they just wanted to fire her, but they were just pussies about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also, like, you had the money for Chris Pratt, like for Mario, but you couldn't. Did I say something bad?
No.
Okay.
I had a really bad thought go through my head about the Japanese in general, and I should not say it.
Yeah, we want to keep the Japanese generalities until after we're recording.
Yeah, we want to keep you guys. I'm just kidding. I'm going to say it. YOLO. You guys have the balls to kill yourself in a forest, but you can't fire a lady to her face.
God.
It's a real place.
It is.
Haunted. Suicide Forest.
Remember when that YouTuber went there and like found a dead body and was like, how could this happen? It's like, you knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, you might have put the body there.
It's very possible. Fuck
anyway,
that guy.
I'm just kidding. Mostly, I still think that they were If that's the way that they did it, they're still cowards.
Yeah.
She put out a statement. She said the Bayonetta franchise made an approximate 450 mil, and that's not including merchandise, which we know was probably substantial. Again, i.e., basement dwellers. Yeah. They flooded the market.
That's another 100 mil right there.
Yeah, easy 100 mil. On top of that. I posit this as a natural law. I can't even get it out. Okay, I can't look at Derek again. I posit this as a natural law, an accepted rule of the universe. If you buy one Bayonetta body pillow, inevitably you have to buy at least two. So, because you're going to ruin the first one.
Yeah, one for coming, one for sleeping.
And you know it. And some nights you're going to be too lazy to go get the...
This is my coming Bayonetta body pillow, and this is my coming Bayonetta body pillow.
And one night you're going to be too lazy to go get the one you cut a hole in with the little safety scissors, and you're just going to use the one that you've been sleeping on for weeks that you have a lovely relationship with, and then they're both going to be your dirty cum body pillows.
I like how you checked for Grayson on that one.
Whew, I'm crying.
Yeah, fuck Nintendo. That's always a theme. There was a bit of a fall from grace arc for HBO for us, but Nintendo's been an enemy of the podcast for quite a while now, and continues to be so.
I vote the episode title is Bayonetta Body Pillow, and only because I like the alliteration.
Into it. I love it.
Okay.
Is the image going to be one that's really clean and the other one that's all stained and crusty?
Well, no, we never have the title and the thumbnail be the same thing. Our thumbnail is going to be Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, and Eddie Murphy, Black Panther.
That's right. Yeah, that's too good to pass up.
Bayonetta Body Pillow. Yeah, we'll make it work. Anyway, that's shitty. Go donate to charity instead. It is an insult to this actor.
Yeah.
Look, we only know one side of the story here, but it's looking so stacked on one side that I can't really see how they could justify, at the very least, the non-professional way in which they've dealt with the situation. Yeah. So, yeah, fuck Nintendo once again. I'll put that feather back in my hat. It'll stay there forever. All right, last piece of Well, I'll actually do this one first because this is video game as well. Last piece of video game news here, and this is just a funny one. This was announced like 2 days ago. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. We talked about this off pod, which I know is a dirty word.
We're not supposed
to. Very briefly, we did. Gotham Knights, which is coming out soon, and I got to be honest with you, end of this week, I think. It's like the 21st.
It's like very soon, yeah.
Got a little bit of bad press because they announced that the console versions, all of the console versions, not just the older versions, the older consoles, will be locked at 30 FPS. And
October 21st, 4 days.
Okay, same day as Black Adam. They announced that all console versions will be locked to 30 FPS. Not just the ones like the Xbox Series S and the PS4, but all of them. Of course, there were articles all over the internet because a game locked on consoles at 60 FPS now is almost unheard of.
30
we're almost there. What did I say?
60.
Oh, I'm a fucking liar. 30 FPS. Oh, hey Sadie, you scared me. Thought you were my son. Locked at 30 FPS nowadays is like a dirty word, even in the console space. I mean, most of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X have both offered a performance and quality mode for most new games where they either run at 60 FPS with a couple sacrifices, or they'll run very gorgeously, I might add, at 30 FPS. The New Horizon game, I was trying to tell you how amazing that game looks on the PS5, but locked at 30, it's just a no-no. And it still looks great at 60. Like, yeah, I can tell that it's not visually... The visual fidelity is not the same, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's still a very pretty... The first one was a very pretty game. Getting off topic, Gotham Knights. So they don't have... Apparently, either they didn't work into the schedule, and this was my first point when we were talking about it, or there was some technical limitation that we're not privy to for them to have like a sliding scale, like a performance mode, or just lock the Xbox Series X version in like a performance mode or something like that and give you the option in the newer consoles. It's just 30 across the board. It's only going to be 60 or above on PC. Look, I'm a PC player, and if I was going to get this game, it was going to be on a computer. So this news doesn't affect me, but I feel like it's just bad for the industry. Like that's just a crappy thing in 2022 to be locking a game that's coming out on brand new consoles to 30 FPS is bad. And maybe this will change down the road. Maybe it won't.
Probably not.
We've said all that to say that it's also, I've read a lot of mixed reviews and I've watched a lot of video. Obviously it's a Batman adjacent game. So your boy is very interested in it. And I've watched like a lot of the hands-on previews, and what I'm getting more or less is a couple questionable balance issues. But like, for example, I don't usually trust IGN, but I watched their video and I liked what he had to say. He basically said this is a really hard game to demo because there's some really cool family dynamic stuff, but we only got to play a chapter of it. And I liked how the combat looks very in depth. Like you have these combat trees and a bunch of abilities to unlock, and you can focus on certain aspects of their combat, like gadgets, or they have like, you know, with the other Arkham games, certain enemy types will need a certain type of finisher to overcome their shield or whatever. But they were like, cool, but like we didn't get to mess with that because we played a chunk in the beginning, and then we were put into a chunk at the end, and all that stuff was pre-built out for us when we got in there. So we didn't get to play with the systems, and therefore it's really difficult to give you guys a proper review until the game comes out. And that's probably the fairest thing in my mind that I've heard about it.
Yeah.
All that being said, this WB Montreal dev opened his mouth and called the Series S some bad words.
Wait, wasn't that a Rocksteady?
And then after WB Montreal,
okay.
Rocksteady chimed in, and that's what we have here today. I was working it up, okay?
Oh, sorry.
I was edging the article. That was not a Blink-182 reference. And they just released a song called Edging. Rocksteady devs defended him, which is funny because when Warner Brothers, the dev, first said something, I went, ooh, not a good look to blame a console for potentially what looked like maybe poor planning on the programming side.
Yeah.
And then Rocksteady chimed in and not Rocksteady as a company, another Rocksteady dev defending WB Montreal and called the Series S a potato and reiterated more or less in a nicer way what the WB Montreal guy had said. He said, I know due to the types of features we have in our game, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience. And
I'm sorry, but that's the only thing I wanted to touch on this. That is such a fucking cop-out. I hate when game developers, like when they announce that a core feature will be missing, they have to preface it by saying, due to the fact that we did so many good things for you and we were so nice and put this in our game, which you get to enjoy for $70. Unfortunately, because we did so many good things, we had to do this really bad thing. It's like, go fuck yourself. Just fucking put the time in, and if you want a good game, make it a good game. Like it's what do you call 343i did it with Halo Infinite, which they were far worse offenders because they announced split screen co-op, and then after people fucking bought the game, pulled back on it. Actually, because it's such a seamless and expansive world, we couldn't. It's like, fuck you. Like, don't act like because you gave me this, I can't get that. You said you were going to do this, and you should have done that. Now, granted, they didn't say at any point that it was going to be locked at 60 FPS, but there is no reason, in my opinion, that any modern day anything should not be able to hit 60. Like, I just don't. It's not even like, I feel like whenever you talk about 30 versus 60, like there's in all gaming forums, there's like this people who think 60 is minimum or are seen as like snooty or something, and it's like. I think when you're talking about older games, like Bloodborne is one that everybody talks about. Are you frozen? No, you were just so still for like 10 seconds. It was alarming. Like,
let me try again.
It's not even like I'm saying, like people bitch that Bloodborne's only 30 FPS. You're really good at that. And, but it's like, that's an older game. Like that's totally different. Like you're talking about a game where hardware was completely different. It's like a 7-8-year-old game. Of course that it's going to have a shittier FPS. And not every game has to have a high FPS. Like when you go back and you play Ocarina of Time or something, like there's just not a lot of particles or lighting going on. So when you rotate your camera, you don't have that nauseating thing. But like, this isn't, you're not going back in time. This is the
story of a girl.
This is the story of a game that's coming out in 2022 and it's 30 FPS. Like I played Halo 3 on 30 FPS in 2007, like 15 years ago. That's absurd. There's no excuse for that. And throwing the fact that it's an untethered co-op experience, I don't give a shit. Like that's there's no way. There's just no way that there was no possible workaround to that. I don't buy that.
I agree with you. And I was only don't shoot the messenger. I was only reading what he said.
So fuck you, Chris.
His original statement was basically. They said the fully untethered co-op thing, and then they said it's not as straight due to the highly detailed open world and the co-op experience. It's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher FPS. For this reason, our game does not have a. That's just why I complained initially and said bad look, because that description is complete. It sounds like you just didn't put the time into your schedule.
Yeah.
And prioritize making a performance. Like you could absolutely toggle some settings down. Mm-hmm. So that people could run at a higher frame rate. Anyway, the Rocksteady dev, senior character technical artist, Lee Devenald, whatever, I'll call you out, my guy, had some other things to add. He said, I wish Garners understood what 60 FPS means in terms of all the things that they lose to make the game run that fast.
Did you say
especially
Garners instead of gamers?
Yes, because that's what's written.
All right.
I read his typo. That's how factually accurate I am right now.
You're just on top of it.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It does say Garners, but he totally meant gamers.
Yeah, I'll stop interrupting you for at least 60 seconds now. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Especially after taking into account that we have a current gen console that's not much better than a last gen one. He's talking about the Series S. I don't know. I'd consider Series S current gen. He said he basically said. Mostly what he said, the Series S GPU, mostly. Multi-platform games always have to optimize for the lowest performer, which we know. But again, I don't see how you couldn't put a toggle in that you just disable on the Xbox Series S variant of the game. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, in a follow-up message, he went as far as calling the Xbox Series S a potato. And he says it hamstrung an entire generation of games. Again, that feels like hyperbole to me. I feel like that can't possibly be or hyperbole if you're a fancy person. And you say it that way. I used to pronounce it that way. Unironically.
So wait, is the series? Hang on, because now I'm confused. Is the Series S? Is that the newest Xbox?
No, the Series X is the newest one.
The Series X is the newest one. So they're blaming the fact that they're releasing it on the Series S for the reason it's going to not run at 60 on the X and the PS5. Yeah. So that's even more cowardly, honestly.
That's my initial. Yeah, my initial feedback was like, oh, not really a good look, because it just sounds like you guys.
Yeah, it's time to abandon the fucking previous gen. Like, honestly, everything's being held back for its sake, and it's getting annoying. I mean, again, like you said, it doesn't affect us. I'm going to play on PC. Well, if the reviews are good, I'm not going to buy a shitty game just because it's Batman and looks cool. But
who would do that?
But it's like, I don't know. I feel like that was my stance when Cyberpunk came out. I was like, well, it doesn't affect me, so who cares? And I look back on that, and I'm kind of like, that's a shitty way to look at it. Like, if you promise that something's going to come out and work on everything, then it should. But that, I don't know. These excuses are just kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't sit
But
right.
Secretly, it didn't give us a problem, so we didn't care about it.
I also still enjoyed the games.
Yeah, definitely.
When people are like, it's not running on my 10-year-old console, I'm like, I wonder why. That's so weird.
Oh, who'd have thought? Okay, one piece of sad boy news. Then we have our Black Adam spoiler conversations, our trailers, and our main topics. And we're making decent time. So, sad boy story here. Guillermo del Toro debuted his stop motion animation Pinocchio movie, which by all accounts is phenomenal. It debuted at a film festival in London. I forget the name of the festival. Oh, BFI London Film Festival. Because of this, even though it's not theatrically available until next month in November, and I believe December 9th on Netflix after that, if I'm not mistaken, the reviews came out for it. And if you spot any of them online without spoiling it for yourself, apparently it is just a gorgeous film, and I'm very excited to see it. I'm looking forward to it. I think both of us are looking very much forward to that movie. It looks really great. But the sad boy story here is a day before the premiere, Guillermo's mother passed away, and he still showed up to that premiere a day after her passing. And he said that was because making Pinocchio was very special for her and I. And I think that is the sweetest fucking thing.
Yeah.
Let's all just pour one out for your mamas, boys. Because I hope you had a good one, actually. Because if you had like one of those mothers that like abandoned you.
Yeah, I hope she's dead. I hope it hurt the whole way too.
Yeah.
But no, you know what? It's kind of, this is very.
I hope she's dead, and I heard it. I hope it hurt the whole way.
All the way to hell, baby.
Yeah.
This is almost entirely unrelated. But anyway, I'd watched this interview like a month or two ago with John Cena when The Rock was getting movie deals and still wrestling. John Cena, who was not a movie star yet and still wrestling, was talking shit on him and saying like, oh, I'm here every night and he cancels his matches and blah, 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 like kind of dogging on him. And then when John Cena became a movie star, he did the same thing. And someone called him out on an interview like, oh, you used to talk shit on Dwayne Johnson about that, and now you're doing the same thing. And he went, yeah, I was wrong. Like, full stop. People ask me this all the time, and I was wrong. He said, when you're the star of a movie, he's like, it's not even an egomaniac thing. It's just people count on you to be there. If you're not there, people get contracted out. Like if you you get sick or you get hurt and you're out for this amount of time, like people will lose their job. Like everybody shows up because the star needs to be there for everything to function. You can't shoot the scene without everything. The whole train stops. And so I think that's like a lot of times with not just actors, but like directors and writers and whatever. Like when your movie is being made, well, look at Zack Snyder when his daughter KMS'd. That's an insensitive way to put that. When she tragically took her own life. Sorry.
Oh no!
It's like, but he tried to really though. Think about it. He tried to go through with finishing the movie because he just felt like, well, I need to do this for these people. That has to suck. I know you're still trying not to laugh. I tried to make it serious just to spare it, but it's just not working. But really think about it. Like you're going through this thing, and he's still doing the press circuit because he has to. It's part of selling the movie. And so I'm sure he's wrapping it up in a cute little way about it being important to him and his mom. But I can't wait for the fella to just get a little break so he can just grieve, you know?
I agree. I 100% agree. And for the record, both of us have a pretty soft spot in our hearts for Zack Snyder, as even a director, and more so for the very, very real and tragic way in which he lost his daughter, Autumn, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
However, the way you delivered that, holy shit, dude, I almost lost it. His daughter, KMS.
Can you
so
imagine
casual.
saying that to him at like a book signing?
No, I
really
cannot.
sorry that your daughter KMS. Great to meet you.
Yeah. Hello, Zack Snyder. Yeah, my name's Chris. How are you?
Snyder.
So as a fun fact, the Kevin Smith, I'm glad you caught that syllable
that was good.
emphasis. Kevin Smith is opening a movie theater here in New Jersey, I think in Red Bank, where he's got the comic book shop. I believe, I could be wrong. I think it's there. And he's actually announced something that's kind of cool. He's not just going, hey, I opened up a secret stash, come buy my comics. And everyone's like, no one goes to stores anymore with Kevin Smith. That store can't make him money. And there's no way.
Yeah.
He announced something cool, though. He's doing, I forget the title of the series, but it's going to be, he's going to have his directors he's met over the years do him a favor. And they're going to show their movie in his theater. And then they're going to do a Q&A. It's sort of like a stationary version of the roadshow thing he's been doing for his movies the past couple of years, where he takes it out, shows it to people in the city, comes out afterwards and talks about it and answers questions. And they're doing it with the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. And anyone out there, I plead and beg of you, if you get tickets and I don't, give them to me.
Yeah. I second that pleading.
Obviously, I'll pay you back for them, but please give them. I would love to. And unjokingly, unironically, yeah, that's sure that works. Derek and I both like that movie a whole lot.
Yeah.
I know that I haven't loved everything Snyder's done, but you can't deny that the man's got an eye for a beautiful fucking shot.
Yeah.
And that would be cool. It would just be really cool to go see. I thought that was a great idea he's doing with the whole director's movie thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Speaking
We'll
of
get to
Dwayne,
Kevin Smith later. Don't take up too much airtime, Kev.
you done?
I'm done. I'm done. I'm sorry.
So speaking of Dwayne Johnson, that Derek just brought up, The Rock
Killing it with
Johnston,
these,
we call him.
delayed segues here.
Yeah, I know, right? That's like 3 in a row. Someone's gonna call bingo pretty soon. delayed segue. So FYI, here's the big spoiler, and I'm gonna. I don't know. Look, I can't tell you how long it's going to take to say this because we might talk about it for a couple of minutes. But look, it's going to start right now. Maybe just pop in. Hopefully, when you pop back in to check, I don't say the word that you were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert: this is the post-credit scene for Black Adam that has not come out yet. But Dwayne Johnson himself, as of October 13th, when the movie premiered in Hollywood, has talked about this to Entertainment Tonight. And it's on Twitter, so it's not like I went digging for this. This is readily available information. It popped up my fucking feed. My phone's like, oh, you're like Batman, dickhead. Here you go. So here's the thing. Derek and I have been hoping, wishing, living on a prayer that our baby boy, our very own honorary member of the TCN Glory Hole,
always has a place.
Henry Cavill. Still not sure.
Cavill. I researched that and it's Cavill. I said Cavill for like a decade, like an asshole, like a fucking uneducated, just idiot everywhere.
I'm worse because I've heard him say it before, and I just can't remember which way it was.
Do you know his full name? Because it's the most English thing in the fucking world. Hang on.
What? Hang on. Let me guess. The most English thing in the world.
Go ahead. You take a guess, and then I'll tell you what it is. You're taking too long. It's Henry William Dalglish Cavill.
Well, I wouldn't have gotten that.
Dalglish.
Yeah,
just one of his 2 middle names.
one of his many middles.
Anyway, please continue.
Yeah. So we've been hoping, and you can probably guess where this is going because I've already brought his name up, that he was going to return as Superman, and it turns out that our prayers have been answered by none other than who would have thought. The Rock himself. He's answered our prayers.
Yeah.
We know that Dwayne has lots of pull with Warner Brothers, and it sounds like the rumors that we discussed a couple of weeks back that said that it sounded like he was basically putting down all of his star power to Warner Brothers and going, I want this to happen. I want Henry Cavill to get another shot at Superman, and I want him to show up in this movie. And it seemed like it fucking worked, boys.
Yeah.
Because guess who's in the post-credit scene? Spoiler alert, even though I've said it like 30 times already. Superman, and it's Henry Cavill. And that makes me very excited. And
it's nice to be the optimistic nerd for once in a while. We've been talking about this for a while.
And to have it pay off.
Yeah. I feel like it was like a couple of months ago. We like had this conversation where we both were like, I'm going to decide to believe that he's coming back. And here we are. He's back, baby.
Yeah, I think you made some kind of statement about how you couldn't even be mad at him if he like effed your wife or something. Yeah. I forget what it was, but it was
true. I don't think she'd be mad either.
100. I'd give her a high five.
Yeah,
I'd be like, hell yeah. Anyway, how was he? What was he like? I always imagined he'd rub my shoulders. Did he rub your shoulders?
Yeah.
I mean yours, not mine. Yeah. So yeah, there's a clip floating out there if you want to go Google it. I would recommend not doing that, only because it spoils what's sure to be a fun moment in theaters.
The clip is out there?
Yeah, but you can barely hear what happens because it's the audience is screaming so loudly. Plus, I was thinking about how this would make us feel together as a unit, how us, if we saw this without finding out this early. And it would probably have been pretty monumental. And don't get me wrong, I saw like a blurry still and I turned it off. I didn't even want to see the scene. Yeah. So I'm still going to be very excited to see him. And I know because it's a teaser, it's going to be like 15 seconds. And it's totally okay with me. Just the fact that...
Yeah, and he's going to be like, it's me, Henry. And then it's going to cut to black.
Yeah. Hello. Oh, sorry, I'm using me British voice. It's
he's
me,
still
Henry
have the
William.
Mission Impossible mustache.
Yeah. We just no CGI this time, baby. That was terrible accent. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so and because it sounds like the rumors we heard initially were true, there's been additional information along with this that not only did he fight tooth and nail to get Henry Cavill back in the suit, but this appearance marks the beginning of another relationship between him and Warner Brothers, and it sounds like a Man of Steel 2 is probably going to happen. At the very least, there's going to be more of this kind of stuff. And there have been a ton of interviews, obviously, because he's doing press for the movie, but he has very, very clearly stated that the universe he's in is the same movie that Henry Cavill Superman, that Jason Momoa is Aquaman, that Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman, and that Ben Affleck's Batman are in. And that is the universe that they're playing in. And he said, and someone asked him, like, are they coming for Marvel with this movie? Which is such a stupid interview question to ask. And he said no, because they're doing multiverse stuff. And this is the universe we're playing in. And he was very clear about it.
He had such a good answer. He's like, they're doing their thing and we're doing ours. It was just such a fucking clutch answer.
It's also just classy. Like, what a classy dude. And The Rock gave me a rock.
Yeah, big old rock.
Stupid joke. Yeah, but no, I mean, look, he sounds like we've known that he's been very passionate about this character. You have to be to want to make it so forcefully for the amount of time it's taken for this to get actually made. Yeah. And it sounds like he is just a big DC fan. And someone actually said, like, would you entertain helping Warner Brothers run the DC films? And he said, look, he's way too busy of a dude to be tied down into one thing. But he said, look, I think that my role as an advisor to DC. He's like, but he clearly has a huge passion for the DC universe. And now we know that Affleck has shot additional scenes in Aquaman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to continue to be optimistic. Again, Derek and I have our hand job tickets for this Saturday. We're going to go see the movie. I'm still tempering my expectations because by all accounts, it's exactly what we expected. It sounds like it's going to be fun action, mediocre plot, bad villain, which is a typical superhero film, but that Dwayne Johnson himself is great as Black Adam. And that's all I care about, to be completely honest. That's all I want this movie to accomplish, is to make a new big hitting character in this universe that I care about, so I can watch him play with others, hopefully later on down the line. I feel like I've been rambling about that, but yeah, Henry Cavill's back, baby.
He's back. So we were correct, and everybody who didn't believe us owes us money. On to the trailers.
You should take that money and go spend it in our merch store.
Yes,
you can find the link in all of our social media profiles. Go do it right now. Also, look, I should have did this in the beginning, and I'll try to remember next time. Try to remember for next time. But if you have T-shirt ideas, if you think one of our thumbnails would be great as a shirt, hit us up. Let me know.
Yeah, Henry Cavill right in the center with "We Were Right." Boom, done. That's another one. Write it down. The cynical nerd on the back. Move on.
I also want all the executives at HBO who aren't listening to know that I was very much going to make a T-shirt that said "Eat shit HBO" in the Game of Thrones font.
Yeah.
But you didn't want none of that smoke.
No, you don't want to fuck with our legal team. We're not even going to tell you their names.
Crack legal team over here. That's legalese. Anyway, a couple trailers, only 3, and then I'm very excited to talk about our main topic, so we're going to roll. This is a quick one. Gotham Knights, already talked about them. They released an official cinematic launch trailer that I liked quite a bit, actually.
It was very good. It was I agree. I was like, after all this shit talking, the past couple days, I watched this. It was like, all right, that's a pretty good trailer.
Yeah,
I had a good theme going for it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was obviously there's 4 main playable heroes in this, and it went through all of them and kind of the names or what else would you call that? Like chips on their shoulders.
Yeah.
The burdens they carry with them are sort of said out loud as they're beating up bad guys, and then it's kind of like them rising above that to become, I think I just heard a child, rising above that to become the heroes that they're going to be in the game and the symbols that they're going to become. So, it was a cool trailer. You should go out and watch it. Montreal's actually pretty good at trailers. The Arkham Origins trailer is quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this trailer. It was one of my favorite Batman video game trailers of all time.
Dog.
That was Sadie. Okay, Jesus, that scared me. I was a Hellraiser. It was a young boy, Bruce, and the frame stayed on his face, and it kept cutting through the years. So it's little boy Bruce, and you see his parents shot, him at a funeral.
Oh, yeah. I think I do
him in
remember that.
middle school getting punched, and then him getting older, and then eventually got to him putting the mask on, and I was like, holy crap, that was an extremely effective Batman trailer.
Yeah.
And so they have a good
I've heard, not to tread on this too much because I know we've specifically talked about this, but I've heard that although Origins didn't expand gameplay at all, it has probably the best story out of them, and so that's always been on my list.
You should play it. It's a very fun story.
And
it's
Arkham Knight is another one that I've wanted to I think that might be one of the next games I play, actually.
You have to have a caveat in there because everybody bitched about the amount of times the Batmobile's in the game.
Yeah.
And it is shoved in there a lot, but I didn't hate the Batmobile stuff. And the open world is the most gorgeous in that game.
Yes.
There's so much stuff to go look at, and Rocksteady is this knack for making the most beautiful, detailed worlds that every corner looks like it was hand drawn by somebody.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if Batman Origins is on sale once we're done.
All the side quests in Arkham Knight are incredibly fun. The main story was predictable, but it was still a good time. They make even glide. I know the Batmobile is a big feature, but even gliding through the city is extremely fun.
Yeah.
Origins is good. Again, you have to throw it a grain of sand because they basically there's gadgets in that game that because of when it comes out in the timeline, not shouldn't exist, but they make a stupider version of it that does the same thing.
Is the Batmobile featured in that, the tank mode and everything in Origins?
Not in Origins, no. Origins is just an open city.
Okay.
Origins is a good game. Yeah, it's not Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, which is the only downside.
Mm-hmm.
But it's supposed to be a younger Batman, and to be honest, they tell a pretty good story. There's a couple of really good story beats in there, and you should play it. Anyway, moving on. Gotham Knights comes out soon. Unknown whether or not I'll get it. I'm going to make my decision. I'll either have it or I'll be talking crap on it by next podcast. So there you go. Because it comes out Friday.
It's true.
Okay.
Oh, that's the cynical stream contender right there.
Potentially.
Because it's queue up.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
If it's good.
If it's good.
If it's gooch. Send us money. We'll buy it.
Yeah.
Anyway. 2 Apple Plus trailers because that's the bottom of the barrel. No,
that's where we are.
I'm
right now.
kidding. Apple Plus has a couple quality programs on it now. Programs.
God damn it.
I watched For All Mankind, which I loved. A great sci-fi show. This is a holiday movie called Spirited, which okay, listen. We've talked ad nauseum about how many things Ryan Reynolds is in, so I won't do that again. This is Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell, and Octavia Spencer. And I gotta tell you, I thought this trailer was going to be really dumb, and I ended up kind of liking it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to say about it.
No, that's pretty much exactly how I feel. Will Ferrell was Ryan Reynolds before Ryan Reynolds. He was the guy that was like really funny, but then he was just in everything and not acting any differently in anything. And at some point you were just like you see him in a movie, you know the exact performance you're going to get out of him.
Right.
And so now they're both in the same movie. So when this started rolling, I was like, fuck, what's happening right now? Why am I doing this? But there is a charm to it. I'm going through this, not to get too real here or anything, but I've been around Christmas, a real Ebenezer Scrooge.
Okay.
I just don't like the holiday. Like, I don't know why. I loved it when I was a kid. I got older and I don't know. I just don't like it. And so now, since we've had Odin, I'm trying to be more festive. Like, and it doesn't matter now because he's not making memories, but I'm trying to practice for by next year, following year, he's going to be making memories. So
don't worry.
Trying to.
You won't even have to try. It'll come naturally. When you, and I know that I'm doing this.
Just do it. I know what you're about to do. Just do it. It's fine.
I know this. Oh, just wait. Listen to my advice.
You'll see.
Listen to my stories. Here's how your kid's going to act. When you see the excitement in their eyes for Christmas for the first time, it is legitimately one of the more rewarding like parental things. Like, he obviously wants toys, but last year he laid out the cookies for Santa, and we took bites out of them, and he was so incredibly stoked the next morning. And it was so adorable.
I love when people tell me about the next phase of like the kid, like, just so you know, that never is something I see as like condescending or anything like that. So feel free to clue me in. But yeah, so I'm trying to be more, I just I want to get into the holidays more, and just so it's like, I had those good memories from when I was a kid when I don't know what happened along the way that I don't like them anymore, but I don't want to be like, just because I hate Christmas, I'm going to make my hit.
Right.
That just seems mean. So anyway, all that to say, this had a very Christmassy vibe to it. I'm like, well, here's good practice right here.
Yeah.
Neither of them did anything totally unbearable in this trailer. So, I'm happy to watch it while I am in my last 2 months of my 6 months free Apple Plus. So,
and it has an odd vibe to it. And when I say odd vibe, I mean like, it's not all like happy-go-lucky Christmas. It looks like they're going to cover some darker stuff.
Yeah.
Like Will Ferrell's like the ghost of Christmas Present. And, he's basically, there was a scene where someone's like shackled down by a bunch of stuff. And like, it looked really interesting. I mean, sure, look, it's probably going to be completely fine.
Yeah.
But it was more interesting than I expected. And I'll probably watch it. I doubt we're going to cover it as the main topic. Yeah. But if we end up watching it, we can chime in about it. The one thing I will say that's tangentially related to you mentioning like getting back into holidays for your son, I had this weird realization over the summer that I should have probably had earlier because it's been happening more and more. We took him just for like an overnight stay down to a beach house a couple weeks ago in September, actually, because my mother-in-law gets like a late in the season cabin. She goes there for a week, not cabin, beach house. They go there for a week. They spend time at the beach when most people aren't going anymore, but it's still pretty good weather. Yeah. And so we went down, and these are things, to me, like beach houses and camping grounds and stuff like that. I had my fill of those vacations when I was younger, and I don't really care about them anymore. Mm-hmm. Like if I had a choice, someone said like, where do you want to go to vacation? Like down at Cape May is not like, I've been there so many times in my life. I don't care. But I realized when we took him down there to see family and like how much fun he had, that like as he gets older, I'm going to start revisiting all of these vacation spots that I haven't done since I was a kid. And I actually got kind of excited about it. I was like, oh, like, look, I know that when I was a kid, going to a campground was fun and interesting. And there was like a penny candy store and like a community pool. And in hindsight, I'm like, whatever, that's stupid. But I know he's going to be so stoked about that stuff. And it's like this renewed vigor to like not have these experiences myself, but to bestow them on my son. And I'm excited about
So that's what I mean. I just feel like just the fact that I am, a cynical, bitter adult.
Surprise.
Doesn't mean
Surprise
I should bud my child into doing that. So I'm actually, I don't know. It's something like now I have these holidays coming up and there's this duality where like my personal feeling is like, fuck, everybody's going to be wearing turkey fucking hats and stupid shit everywhere. But then I have this like,
I didn't say to wear a turkey hat now.
But I also have an excitement where it's like, well, I can have him eat the fucking stuffing and mashed potatoes. And, I don't know. It's just, it's something to look forward to. I don't know.
Buddy, this is called a gobbler from Wawa.
There's cranberry sauce on it, and there's no cranberries in it.
Yeah, and you're snooty like your father, so we want real cranberries in our cranberry sauce and not just the canned cylinder. Anyway, last but not least is I wouldn't say more obscure because plenty of people know about it, but it's a show called Mythic Quest, which is it is a comedy on Apple TV Plus that has Rob McElhenney in it. And our good friend and former co-host Scoot was telling us about when it first came out.
I thought you were going to say he was in it. I was like, whoa.
Yes, he was a co-star. And I watched like half of the first season, and it was pretty funny. I enjoyed my time with the show, and I fell off for one reason or another. I think we were in the middle of watching some other series like Invincible or something like that. And obviously that won because I can't wait for that show to come back. But this is season 3 has a trailer that's actually coming out the end of this year, and it's enticing me to like go back and catch up on the show because I thought the show was really funny, and it develops chronicles video game development and the team that makes this really silly video game. And it's hard to describe the show without you watching it, but there's a lot of tropes in the video game industry that you expect. There's a couple video game testers in the studio that it follows, as well as the head of the studio, and some of the voice acting talent is in it. Like there's an old curmudgeon who thinks he's always reading Shakespeare, but he's like this old wizard voice. Yeah. Anyway, the trailer looks fun. And
it looks really charming. I have no point of reference. I haven't watched any of it. I've wanted to, but it seemed funny, lighthearted, good time, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
There's one guy in the show, and it's been so long since I watched, but he's like the guy that perpetually gets made fun of. And there's like a line in here where he's like, oh, we're doing so great over the old studios. And I think they're like, we haven't even said your name in like a year. Yeah. And it instantly reminded me of like how much crap this guy endures in just the part that I saw. And I got excited to go back and watch it. I also have written down physically on my computer to watch Barry. I have to catch up on it.
Oh God, that's such a good show. I would love to talk about that show.
Fantastic.
So good.
All right. It's time. Main topics. So we're doing we're going to talk about Andor episode 6. I have pretty quick thoughts on Hot D because just spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot happened this episode. She-Hulk finale thoughts, Hellraiser and Clerks 3. What do you want to do first?
I want to hear your She-Hulk finale thoughts because I don't care about them, but I'm sure the listeners do.
It was fine. Next.
Okay.
No. So she's known to break the fourth wall, and basically the way I can put it is they just took that and shot to the moon with it. I mean, she literally is in Marvel Studios offices trying to talk to Kevin. And it's implied that it's Kevin Feige, and then she goes to talk, and it's a big robot that just spits out plot points for the movies. There's actually some clever writing here, but the entire fourth wall break feels a little, I don't know. They didn't quite nail it, and I've had a hard time pinning down exactly what about it annoyed me because a lot of the writing was clever. It's hard to say. This episode was a great encapsulation of my feelings about the entire series. And I've talked about them. I talked about it a lot last episode, more than I expected to. So I won't retread. But the gist is, I love Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. I think she's really charming and she does a great job in the role. I think that the show, I don't know if the word is bit off more than it could chew, but it had some really funny moments. And then a lot of it, way more than was funny, came off as cringy or look at me, look at what we're being so inclusive of, or look at what we're pointing out as a bad stereotype. And I don't, I'm sure that stuff is intentional, but it came off kind of rough to me in spots. There's a couple gem episodes I would recommend. The Daredevil one was great. The one before the Daredevil episode was great. Otherwise, if you're interested, it's got cool cameos, but nothing earth shattering for the MCU. Besides the fact that, roping this back into our Harrison Ford conversation, they mentioned that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed, so that's no longer a thing in MCU's America. That's it. If you want
MCU America,
if you're at all interested, the MC United States, if you're at all, I just stopped what I was doing to put that out, by the way. If you're at all interested in that show, give it a watch. She's, if nothing else, she's a charming lead.
Yeah, she really is.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that. What's next, Eric?
I feel like the rest of the order is good. Andor, Hot D, Hellraiser, Clerks 3.
I hear stomping. It's very loud.
Oh, it's coming. Dun dun dun
Dun,
dun 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 dun. God damn it! I was hoping I would time that out.
Don't see him yet. I'm sure he's coming though. Anyway, okay, so you want to rock paper scissors for who goes first on Andor?
Nope, because I'm going to go first. Andor was really good.
I win.
Andor was really excellent. This was a very emotional episode and beautiful. Like
gorgeous.
What's the name of the event? What is it called again?
The Eye.
The Eye. That's what it is. Yeah, and how that was they were using that to mask their escape. Not only just smart to do it that way, take a force of 6 people and get them away from an entire military force. But just looked awesome to have all this crazy shit happening, and there's just this like natural phenomenon happening at the same time. We saw some really gut-wrenching moments where the fellow who used to be a stormtrooper, we learned in the same episode that he used to be a stormtrooper. I love the subtle backstory telling of all of the side characters. That's what I realized I love about the show. It's just little nuggets that they make you fill in the gaps. We don't know why he decided to leave the stormtroopers, but we can kind of tell from the way that guy carried himself and he's very humorless and like straight down to business. He saw some shit that made him leave. And I love that like not everyone has this like melodramatic thing where they're like explaining exactly what brought them here. You just get these little tidbits and they just trust you to fill in the rest yourself. Obviously he goes down. The manifesto fella, Nemec, I think his name was, dies in a just pretty shitty way. He doesn't even doesn't go down fighting. He just was in the wrong place, wrong time, gets squooshed.
He gets squooshed.
And again, my favorite part of the episode was the conversation between Cassian and I can never remember the other guy's name. Crazy blue eyes. Crazy like just white blue eyes.
I can't remember either.
Where we basically find out that what he was accusing Cassian of being the whole time, just sort of like a dude for hire, just a dude for sale, only in it, for the highest bidder. That's actually what he was in it for.
It's like the cheater who accuses their partner of cheating. Yeah,
and it hurt because like that moment that I highlighted in the last episode where they sort of got tense with each other. Now I'm like, it made the conversation in this episode better because why Cassian just gets so pissed when he suggests, like, what if we just take this money and go and we split it?
He shoots him.
And he just fucking shoots him. He's like, fuck you. Like you made me feel like I was the piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I might be for hire, but I'm at least going to do the job that I was hired to do.
Right.
And that's it. I don't know what else to say about it. The whole segment where they were like, Nemec, they like give him some kind of like space cocaine to like bring him back for a couple seconds because he's the only one who knows how to navigate. And as they're pulling up through this like asteroid shower, like the fucking Jesus Christ, come on, Derek. TIE fighters are like smashing into each other and getting hit, but it was so beautiful, dude.
So
it was incredible.
Gorgeous.
I am so glad that I stuck through with this show because I am loving it so far. First 2 didn't hook me, and every single one since then has been a banger. So
yeah, and this episode more than most because it was a payoff to the heist that they've been going over for the last 2 episodes. And I agree. I had no complaints. I love everything about it. I love the characterization of these Imperial agents. These guys who the Imperials cover a lot, but how they can still let things slide under the gates because their hubris or their pride. They're not paying attention all the way. Stuff like that. They're so busy demeaning these local native people that they don't even realize there's new guards showing up and going into rotations. And it was a beautiful episode. Everything, like not only the meteor shower they called the Eye, which is basically like a rainbow meteor shower. It almost looked like the Rainbow Bridge from Thor if I had to equate it to anything, but just on a more massive scale. It was just a really gorgeous episode, and yeah.
I think you might have someone behind you. The call's coming
Hello.
within the house.
What a handsome young man you are. You want to come say hi?
What a handsome fella.
Come here. Come here, lion shirt. Okay. You got to put these on again.
What's up, pal?
I'm going to here, you can talk right there.
Yeah.
Say
Hey,
hi.
what's up, bub?
Hi.
I saw your sweet Iron Man costume.
Yeah.
Were you shooting the bad guys so Daddy could keep walking?
Uh-huh.
Why are you talking like a baby?
Very good.
Uh-huh.
I do sometimes too.
Can you tell Derek that you were singing the theme song to Gilmore Girls earlier?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of that.
What female girls?
Gil. I'm just kidding. Hey, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, buddy.
I love you.
Did you say Superman?
I did not say Superman. I said Gilmore Girls.
I thought you said
Wait, pop quiz. What's Superman's real name?
Clark.
Who?
Clark Kent.
Clark Kent. That's right. I got him
Got
trained.
it.
Who's Batman?
Nightwing.
Nightwing.
Oh, no.
he
Uh-oh.
Failed the test. Who's Daddy's favorite superhero?
Batman.
Batman.
There we go.
All right, go to bed. Be a good boy. Love you. Listen to your mother.
And listen to your mother.
Go on. Go downstairs. All right. Hopefully, that was the end of the trilogy.
It was a great end to
The Ewoks are showing up.
yeah.
Na 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 na. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I loved Andor. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know where I left off with that, but yeah. Skarsgård, was it Stellan Skarsgård?
Yes. I always call him Alexander, not Alexander.
That character has had I would say, smaller role so far than I expected in the backdrop of things, but every time we see him, I love to watch him act because he's doing this balancing act. Mon Mothma's home life sucks really bad. I feel so bad for her. She's in the Senate trying to make a difference when no one cares anymore.
People are on their phones.
Because it's
They're like, "Fuck
basically,
you."
yeah. And then people start just they get like a news article and just drone out what she's saying. Love it. Nothing else to say. Hot D update. I'll go first. This is like a filler episode.
Yeah.
I know that it was still interesting and something big happens at the end. But for the most part, we knew what was going to happen at the end of last episode. And they spent the whole episode making that happen. So by definition, it's kind of a filler episode. I mean, the plot didn't advance past the Queen Alicent wanting, thinking, truthfully, she really thinks that Viserys wanted Aegon to take the throne because she misheard that meme you sent, by the way. It was hilarious.
The BB King one?
BB King, yeah. Such a good choice meme. If you had made that, it would have instantly been the thumbnail. Yeah. It was so good. But I mean, this was a slow burn episode where we did some character work for the Queen. We found out that I know she's never been evil, but we got even more of a sympathetic side to her. She finds out that the rest of the King's Council had basically been plotting for this behind her back without her knowing.
Yeah.
She's like, what? And they're like, oh, we couldn't let you know for security reasons. And I'm like, okay. But the more this episode goes on, you understand that she's just been dealing with a lot of sexism and sexual abuse as her time as the Queen. Whether it was intentional by the other person or not, I mean, you could argue that her forced marriage to the king, but her father did it, so it's kind of like abuse by her father. Anyway, whatever. I'm not getting into the weeds on that, but she finds out that, and she pushes her son up, and we don't know what Rhaenyra's doing. She wasn't in this episode at all. We know that the Lady of Driftmark was there. She got locked in the room. She swore fealty to Rhaenyra last episode.
Yeah.
And she basically, a couple people say they're not going to do it, and they get hung or killed or taken away as prisoner. And at the ceremony to make this man king, she sneaks away, grabs her dragon, and makes a huge entrance and a big old hole in the ceiling. And I'm not sure why. I mean, obviously, it's to show her displeasure with the crowning of the new king. But wouldn't you expect? Why wouldn't you just roast him? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think that she didn't because they're family. And I know that we're talking about like cutthroat Game of Thrones rules, but we haven't really seen her like she's like biting with her words, but we haven't seen her like, I'll fucking kill you. Like we haven't seen her do shit like had Damon cut the one guy's head off. And I mean, they're family through marriage. I feel like that was just her making a statement. Like, I wanted my dragon. I got him back. You guys pissed me off. And the next time we see each other, we're enemies. And then she just left. I loved that scene. I thought it was really good. I see a lot of people tearing it apart for the exact reason you're saying. Like, why wouldn't she could have just killed all of them. Problem solved. And logically it makes sense, but I just didn't hate it. The show would be over. That would be the end of the show if that's what she did.
I didn't hate it. I was just left more like,
yeah.
Okay, well, I need to see the next episode because I want someone to be like, what did you? I need her to go like, I was trying to,
say,
I don't know, make a statement or, you know. Sure. I didn't hate it. It was the only excitement in the whole episode, to be honest with you. Well, as far as like big boom, spam, explosion excitement, that's all there was.
The one thing I liked about this episode, and it was slow, and like there was a part in the beginning or in the middle that I was like nodding out, and I had to have Veronica recap a scene for me, and it was the one where he was jerking off to her bare feet. You'd think that'd be enough to keep me awake, but apparently not.
Apparently we don't have a foot fetish here.
Yeah. But I thought it was good. It felt like a commitment to, we've seen in typical Game of Thrones style, you have a whole crew of main characters and you're jumping around between all of them. And you have this building tension between two clans. You have, the Greens and the Blacks, Rhaenyra being the head of the Blacks and Alicent being the head of the Greens. And we see their stories sort of intertwined and intermixed throughout. It was cool to just see it was just the Greens this time. And so I'm hoping that episode 10 is the opposite. I hope it's like sort of a combined season finale where we just see from the perspective of Rhaenyra and Daemon and all them. Because it's not like there's going to be in the end of season 1 some huge showdown between the two houses. That wouldn't make any sense. They have 4 planned seasons. Right. But no, I agree that it was one of the slower ones. And like last episode was so fucking good. And I was so high at the end of that episode. Like I was just riding the excellent writing of the show that I feel like that's just in any TV show. You see that whenever you have an episode that just fucking bangs, the follow-up one is kind of like a cool off episode. So I'm not mad about it. Important shit happened. It just wasn't very exciting. I hate to sound like a fucking lizard-brained caveman, but
it's post-coital.
Exactly right.
You're thinking about all the shameful things you just did, to yourself.
So, but yeah, I thought,
and to your Bayonetta body pillow.
I thought the Rhaenys dragon thing was. I liked it. I see people tearing it apart. I get it, but I didn't mind it. It didn't bother me. I thought it was like an act of symbolism more than anything else.
Symbolism.
Symbology.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Symbolism.
Hellraiser,
baby.
Okay. I quickly remembered upon pressing play last night that there's a reason I didn't watch all the Hellraiser movies throughout my teen years. And that's because they're basically gross out porn. Mm-hmm. All the Cenobites that we know and love have these grotesque, their muscle and sinew is showing, and I kind of forgot about the chains. And as soon as I saw them grab someone with chains, my like PTSD when I was a kid and probably should not have seen it that early. They hook into people and you see muscles pull in and it's very gross. And the whole movie was uncomfortable to watch for me personally. I'm not saying for everybody, but if you're not accustomed to watching that kind of thing, then it makes you uncomfortable most of the time. Which basically to me meant that it was a great Hellraiser movie because it did exactly what I believe its goal was. It made me uncomfortable to the point where I left an extra light on when I went to sleep last night. Not like I was afraid of the dark, but I keep glancing at mirrors and shit, and I'm like, okay, I don't like that.
Listen, I'm 34 years old, and if I watch something that really disturbs me, I have to either do that, have a light on, or like watch a funny episode of something, because if I don't, I will have night terrors that wake me up throughout, like to this day. Like that's not something that went away when I became a teenager or something. So you feel no need to explain that to me. I always like, if I watch something that's really like gets me all in a weird headspace, I'm like, I got to watch an episode of Always Sunny or something before I go to bed, or I'm just going to wake up all night with nightmares. It's sort of like a reset button for me.
Yeah. And the idea of Hellraiser and like what they do lends itself to creeping you out. Like, you're looking at like normal walls that turn into horrible corridors, people screaming and yeah, the movie was uncomfortable for me. I remember watching like halfway through it. I'm like, there's still another hour of this fucking, and when I got done, I was like, well, good. I mean, if you're into those movies, I feel like that was a good entry in the Hellraiser series. The plot wasn't overly complex, but it gave you a main character with a redemption arc, who was likable. I liked her. She was flawed. She had drug addiction issues.
Yeah.
The movie was a metaphor for overcoming those addiction issues. It's always great when they put a metaphor in there, Just slap it on in there.
Put it on.
Yeah, and she didn't trick them at their own game, but she beat them. She discovered the correct answer, and I thought the way they stated it was beautiful at the end. Because lament, I think, was one of the configurations for the box. Obviously, no one would pick it. They pick power. They pick sensation. They pick, and she was like, I don't want anything from you. I know what your gifts are. They're all tricks. And
but I feel like that was them being like, I feel like that's in a way the worst one, because you killed, well, she didn't kill them, but
that's what they said.
Responsible for them. Yeah. And like it was for nothing. You got nothing.
You
from
live, you have to live with this. That's your.
I thought that was awesome. I thought that was so good.
Yeah, I thought it was good for what it was. It's not the type of movie I would seek out to watch, and for that, I'm glad I was able to recognize. I thought it was good.
Yeah. I wish it was less really hot young actor centric. Like it just reminds me of like any slasher you put on when like immediately the movie opens up and there's just like two 20-year-olds fucking. It's like, oh, okay. So
I was like, oh, you've got nice lips, and now I'm fixated on them the whole movie.
Right, it's all I can look at. And then they died in order of attractiveness as usual. The ugliest goes first, and then hottest dies last. But no, it was good though. I did like it. It was like unsettling at points. I thought the six configurations. I don't remember much from the like original movies.
Yeah, me either.
Me. So I don't know if I know that the box like changed shapes and stuff, but I don't know if there was like you had to sacrifice one for every configuration. I don't know if that was like an addition or if that's how it's always been. But in any event, that's just a cool system of like having like a system behind the horror. I thought that was neat, and you have to find creative ways to get to the next thing without getting torn apart yourself. But no, it was super unsettling. There were two parts especially that fucked me up really bad. One was the guy who ended up like being the asshole, the super hot guy.
Oh yeah.
And they wrap the fucking wires around him, and it just shows him get degloved. Like,
oh yeah.
And then like one goes across his eyes and his mouth. It's like, oh, I'm so glad they didn't show his face get peeled off. But that was pretty brutal. And then the very last thing, the rich fella who I guess they made a Cenobite. He's sort of being mutilated and all that was fine, but then they take like the corners of his mouth and like rip it off the side of his face, and I was like, ugh! That was like in the last 20 seconds of the movie. No, it was good. I hope, and I heard, of course, leading up to it, people were so mad that they recast Pinhead as a woman, and she was great.
She was extremely
fucking menacing and horrifying, dude. I'm like, if you're complaining, you have not watched this movie, because the things that are wrong with this movie, like in the context of a horror movie, are minor to begin with, and she is not one of them. She was incredible.
And hey, say what you will, they followed the fucking rules. Okay, she stabbed a Cenobite. They tore that motherfucker in pieces.
They were like, all right. Even he was like, all right, you got me, you son of a bitch. He just took a couple steps back.
He was like, I can almost hear him going, fair play.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I thought it was a very good a very good entry in the Hellraiser series. I liked it quite A bit. Yes, I did. I thought it was cool at the end. There's a lot of like meet God, and they're like, well, not the God, but like their God, who we don't really know anything about. I don't know if it's ever been explored, but when he was being turned into a Cenobite at the end, it's in a very heaven-like place. He's on like a golden stand. It almost looks like he has wings on him, like an angel. And it's bright white light he's staring into as he's being just mutilated. I thought it was cool imagery for sure.
Dude, that aesthetic of like corrupted holiness unnerves me. I don't know if it's because I was like, I was raised Catholic or whatever, and like seeing that warped imagery, like, I don't know, but something about that just fucking irks me. Remember the movie that we watched for the pod, The Void? It had like weird religious symbolism and imagery, but it was all like dark and like just fucking weird. That kind of shit just turns my stomach. Really good movie. We liked
it. That was a great recommendation by Scott. Second reference of the day.
Yeah, very good.
Very good film. Okay, last movie on the docket, and just as a preface, we have like almost like one horror movie a week. We were gonna do Hellraiser and Speak No Evil this week. We didn't realize Clerks 3 came out. We quickly kicked Speak No Evil to next week.
Yeah.
And we might kick it again because Halloween Ends is out.
Yeah.
I might force you to watch that. We can either do Halloween Ends for next week and then Speak No Evil, or Speak No Evil and then Halloween Ends. But Halloween Ends just came out.
I feel like Halloween Ends.
I feel like we should do that next week.
I think so,
so yeah, we're going to have at least one spooky movie to talk about per week. I have to be honest, and I hope it proves me wrong. I do not expect a lot from what I've seen at a Halloween Ends.
Me neither. I've seen people who are fans kind of shit on it, so I don't think it was very good. But I'm going to go in with an open heart and an open mind.
Yes, an open mouth.
Yes,
a wanting mouth. How's that? All right, last movie, Clerks 3, Smith's, I think, inarguably deepest or most emotional film that he's ever written. I don't really think that's up for debate. It definitely has more emotional hits in it than I think any of his other films. Chasing Amy's really good. That's actually fantastic film of his, but
wonderful movie.
I'll just say it deals with mortality the most. How's that? I guess I'll go first. This is a hard movie to talk about for me because there's a lot of nostalgia baggage, and I've been trying to, over the past like day or two since I watched it, to separate my love of the first two Clerk films with any goggles that might color this one. So I've tried to do that, and I'll go into brief notes up front.
I just want you to know this is exactly how I approached my
review.
Like literally.
I'm gonna make some statements, and then I'll try to quantify them as one opinion. This movie made me cry, and it made me cry pretty hard. And I, at like one scene two scenes, but one scene far more than the other. And of course, heavy spoilers. This is already out, but warning you ahead of time. The scene where, it's not even where you expect. It's not where Dante dies. It's where he's ranting at Randall in the store about how it's right before he has a heart attack.
Yeah, no, that got me too. Yeah,
because I have to tell you something about these movies. We know that the Clerks films were shot with Kevin Smith's buddies and some, let's be real, low rent actors who he knew, or like the guy who plays Randall and the guy who plays Dante. Brian O'Halloran, I forget the name of the guy who plays Randall. I'm very sorry. I've never considered them good actors, and to be frank, most of this movie follows what I expect from them. A lot of if you want to enjoy any of the Clerks films, you have to be able to look past that a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's in question. I think that's just an objective fact, because almost none of his friends are what I would call great actors. So for a lot of this movie, I'm like, okay, well, this is about the performance level I expect from these guys. Some of the writing made me laugh out loud. Some of the jokes got tired quickly.
Yeah.
Elias in the various goth outfits, I laughed at for like the first three. And then I was like, okay, we get it. That faded on me. But when I was getting off point, I'm sorry. When Dante has that speech to Randall, that was the first time I ever thought that guy can actually act, because I thought he did a really, really great job with that scene.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm saying his performance in the whole movie was like that, because most of it felt like any other Clerks film. But that movie, I don't know what the fuck demon he made a deal with, or bad places in his life he summoned those emotions from. But Jesus Christ, that was a beautifully acted scene. Yeah, I have a lot of statements about this movie, and I still feel like I haven't formed a perfect opinion of it. Okay, it's the most Smith's ever dealt with mortality, and it's very on the nose. We all know Smith had a heart attack, a widowmaker.
Yeah.
I think some of the jokes I've heard him tell on podcasts about his experience having a heart attack, he put right into the movie. For example, the small dick joke and not wanting his dick shaved. I've heard him talk about that, saying like, well, he's like, I don't know if you know this, but they put the stent in like through your groin. He's like, so they had to, he was super high when he went there, and they thought that was part of the reason, like, he was so chill and relaxed. They were like, you survived because you're able to calm down and breathe and be in the moment. And he was making like small dick jokes at the doctor or whatever. Anyway, they put that right in the movie. This is obviously the most he's ever dealt with mortality. And I think here's what I'll say. I think it was an uneven outing. Some of it, I think, was some of his better written scenes that I've ever seen, dialogue wise, on Kevin Smith's level. The O'Halloran argument scene comes to mind. And then some of it was just cheesy and stupid. Yeah. And yeah, I've been having a tough time pinpointing my feelings on it. And I'm really just, at this moment, I'm still kind of 50-50 about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This movie had no business at all making me fall in love with it as much as it did. I loved it. Me and Veronica both did.
Hey!
And no,
I feel like I sounded like Kevin Smith right there.
And
hey!
I went into it expecting not to. Like, I just, I mean, you know how I feel about Kevin Smith. But it was like,
yeah,
I don't
we
know.
love him. We both love him. We're optimistic nerds here now.
Here's what I'll say. One thing I admitted to myself immediately as when it was done, even though I still had wet tears going down my face, was if I was judging this movie on its own merit, having not been a part of, well, first of all, the Clerks trilogy, and secondly, just the larger expanded Kevin Smith universe, I would have thought this movie was dumb and melodramatic for sure. Not knowing the context behind like what his message was with the Widowmaker, and obviously in Clerks 1, Dante is kind of the character that was his self-insert. Right. And in this one, it was more so Randall was his self-insert. Obviously, there's a lot of meta shit going on. They were reshooting scenes that happened in the original movie with, obviously modern day actors or whatever. I hate to say, I always say it's not fair to say it's supposed to be corny, but it felt like some of the corniness was trying to stick to the original. Clerks 1 was funny when it came out. Like, that was edgy humor. You were a kid, you thought it was funny, and that kind of stuff's not really funny anymore, but it felt like he was staying true to the original sort of guidelines of Clerks 1. It didn't make the jokes funny, but it made them forgivable to me. So like, I'm kind of being a hypocrite here. I didn't laugh at a lot. I kind of would, like a couple of those at some of the jokes in the first half. And then it started to take itself really seriously. One thing that was cool for me, Clerks 1 has a special place in my heart, as it does for a lot of people, because it was a movie that I watched as a kid, that it just made me feel like I was watching my buddies on screen. Like, it was just like me and my friend, the way we talked to each other and our dick and fart jokes. And then same thing with, Chasing Amy and all the other ones. And then eventually you grew up and you got over it. So seeing him revisit those scenes and reshoot them, I was like, this is actually really nice. Like, I like to see the thing that I have preserved in my memory the way it is, like, redone in a way as a way of him. I don't know. I just thought that was neat. And then the part that I was not prepared for whatsoever was when he sits down in the theater in his mind in the afterlife.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays the actual footage from Clerks 1, and you see Dante as the actor as a young man, and that just really, like, I was weeping. Like, it wasn't like I had a couple tears coming down. I was openly crying. I thought that his scene, it's same thing. In Clerks 1 and 2, his acting is abysmal. And for most of the movie, it is here. But that scene where he freaks out, and it's where it happens. It's because you see him, again, reshooting these scenes from the original movie, and they all go mostly the way they did in the original. And then see, when he's laying down on the cooler, you know how this one goes. But then it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
And he gets up and he just starts screaming about and all this stuff that's like very... I feel like Kevin Smith at the beginning of his career was really good at having these minute moments in his films that were very honest, and especially Chasing Amy, which we brought up earlier. And then he sort of lost that along the way. I don't know, maybe because he became a millionaire, or like he's just in a totally different tax bracket. Whatever the thing is, he just got bad at it. And I feel like that scene was good. Like just the you could feel his frustration there.
Yeah.
I will say, like, looking back, reflecting on it, some of it felt kind of melodramatic. See, I'm having a similar difficulty that you are, in that, again, if I just judge it on its own merit, which you should do with every movie, you shouldn't judge it by movies that came out 20 years ago. If I was just judging it by itself, I would think that the jokes were awful. I would think that the acting was terrible. And I would think that there was unnecessary melodrama in it. But, like, given the history, I'm going to allow myself to be a hypocrite. And given
No one is completely agnostic. No one is without outside influence. And to deny saying that those movies had a special place in your heart and mind when you were younger is completely acceptable.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said, I was trying to say, like, objectively, some of the shit was really corny, and I think that's
very, very corny.
And you know, I've always loved Kevin Smith. I think he's just a big teddy bear. He's a sweetheart, and to see him tackle such sad topics, it was like you could really feel throughout the entire script. And it's like a no shit statement, but you could really feel throughout the entire script that he really had a hard look at his life and what he's done, and his friends and family and loved ones. And he's said this many times publicly since, but I didn't realize he was going to pen it out in a script called Clerks 3, which is that he's saying, look, I had a good life. I was sitting on that table thinking, if I go right now, I have a wonderful daughter and a great wife, and I've done things that most people will never get to do in their lives. And if I go right now, he goes, but if I stick around, anything I do, I'm going to treat like a bonus. And it's a beautiful way to look at life in general, especially in the face of something like that. As we all know, he lost a ton of weight. He's in great shape.
Hey, did he have that on an airplane? Was he on an airplane when he had that?
No, he was at a comedy show. But there was a Too Fat to Fly thing where he stopped taking like commercial flights for a while because he got like body shamed out of a chair or something. They made him buy 2 seats or some shit like that. Right.
Because I told Veronica afterwards, I was like, yeah, he had a Widowmaker on an airplane. And then afterwards, I was like, I feel like I'm thinking of someone else. I don't think he was.
No, he actually, I think it was either a comedy set or a Q&A. And he did one. I remember he told the whole story on this other podcast I listened to because I'm notoriously nibby, if you don't know that about me. He was backstage chilling. He said he started to feel like his chest was just really tight. And he thought he was kind of dizzy, and he was like, I got to sit down. And they got him some water, and he's laying down, and he was just like, okay, like something feels wrong. I can't catch my breath. And he said, like, call 911. And they did. And he said he was baked. He was like, oh, I was very high. And they called 911, and they're like, you're having a heart attack. And he's like, I couldn't believe it. And they took him to the hospital. And that's where my story chopped in earlier from him talking about the, how they thought that him being calmer was one of the reasons he lived, and the doctor making fun of his dick and all that stuff. But it's a hard movie because I feel like there's no way that I can, and don't get me wrong, it's a bummer of a movie. Like, Rando has a heart attack, and I feel like they did a good job with the trailers of hiding story beats here. Rosario Dawson's character, I did not think was dead.
Yeah. That was another thing that sucked.
She's in the trailer.
Yeah.
And what was so great, and I got to give him props because I do tend to, even though I love him, to bash on his poor writing sometimes. What was so great about her being gone, which is a shitty thing to say in hindsight, but so great about the way he did it, I should say, is that he didn't tell you what happened right away.
Yeah.
And it was, she's gone and you don't know why. And then someone else would bring her up and he had a breakdown. He couldn't go into movies and they don't talk about it. And he says like, oh, you know, because she's gone or because I lost her. And they don't tell you why. And then in that big scene that we're both talking about, he says, we're not all still here or something like that. Some of us died and some of us are still dying or something. And he goes, because somebody got unlucky with a drunk driver or some shit like that.
Yeah.
To tell you through storytelling. And I thought it was a great way to do it. Heartbreaking, though. Every time she showed up, those scenes were super sad. They also have to reinforce that she is way too hot for him.
Yeah.
But hey, this is a movie I have mixed feelings about because I know that I am influenced at basically the same page as you. I know that I'm influenced by my love of Kevin Smith, my love of previous films he's done, my ability to overlook poor acting.
Yeah.
Because I know that I still love these characters for the way they have previously been written. There's so many asterisks on my review of this film. And yet at the end of the day, it is a very cathartic film.
That's what I was going to say. Like, regardless of the sort of like conflicted feelings, I'm so fucking glad I watched this movie.
Yeah, and
I am so glad I didn't pass it over because it was, in the end, it was very worth it. Like, even the things I'm like, would I like this under this scenario? Like, it's almost like whatever. Like, I liked it, so who just accept that.
Yeah.
I know he always said he wanted to make Clerks 3 and then retire. I wonder if he's going to do that.
Oh no, I think he's making Tusk 2, baby.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Tusks.
Did I tell you about the premise that I actually think sounds good for that movie?
No, because I wanted to watch the first one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I told Sam about it, and she went, oh, that's kind of neat. Because we both watched that movie and came out and went, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
I
don't think either of us have like discussed it and said if it's good or bad. We've both gone, yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah. Oh, I got to watch it. I got to
You
put
should.
that up there.
You should. All right, we got to wrap it up. We're actually running super long this time.
Quite
We got an
long, quite long.
Extra long episode. Episode 8. Yeah, I did it again. Episode 83. Where can everybody find you at?
They can find
So,
me
Derek?
on Twitter and pretty soon Twitch, I think, at Dr. Gloom MD, DRGLOOMMD. I think that you and I next month are going to start doing a weekly co-stream for, I think Dead Space 3 is on the docket. We have a couple other co-op games we're kind of looking at.
If Gotham Knights doesn't suck.
If Gotham Knights doesn't suck, there you go. There's one. But you know, just it's not streaming isn't something I can commit like nights of the week to anymore. So it's going to be like a weekend thing. But I have been thinking about like, why not just doing it on Saturday nights or something.
On Saturday night.
What about you, Christopher? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and again potentially Twitch soon at TCN Plays. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm basically, you know, my night tonight is editing the audio podcast, and then tomorrow I edit the video, and then probably tomorrow night I'll start working on the graphic that we need for the stream.
Toy.
For the stream, and then we'll knock it off. We'll announce the first one whenever we're fucking good and ready.
Yeah,
You hear
we'll do
me?
it when we're ready.
Anyway, check us out. Dr. Gloom MD. TCN Plays. Hey, we have a merch store. I said that already. I'm going to keep shilling because I don't give a shit.
Do it.
You can find a link to our merch store in any of our socials. It's hosted on TeePublic. 5 or 6 designs up now. We're going to be putting more up soon. I just have to. It's a lot of work. Listen, a lot of work here. Okay. So pipe down.
So just pipe down there.
Just pipe it down. I think the whole store is like 50%, 60% off, 20%. I don't fucking know what the number is off. There's a percentage of doll hairs off. To give you an example, a t-shirt is $14, which as far as online printed t-shirts go, is not that expensive.
No, not at all.
Normally they're north of 20.
Yeah.
And I think when the sale's not on, they shoot up to like 20. So if you want some t-shirts, go grab them now. Yeah, that's it. We're going to wrap it up. This has been episode 83. and it's called
listen to this trailer for the podcast name.
I via our cross promotion agreement. Look, I will always be 1001% transparent with everybody here. So yeah, we're using a service called Audrey. We're cross promoting with other people.
Yeah,
they're going to hear us pop up in some podcasts that we've paid and some podcasts that we've decided to make a deal. We'll cross promo. This is one of the cross promos. They're not supposed to get a host read trailer, but I'm a nice guy.
But we're doing it anyway because we love them. And
so
the
go check out
podcast
Fire.
is great.
We're just talking over each other. enough. Fire Breathing Kittens is a D&D podcast. We're gonna roll the trailer right after we say bye. So goodbye.
Bye.
Are you itching for a good story? Laughter among friends, maybe even a mystery or two? Well, you're in luck. Fire Breathing Kittens is a standalone Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Each episode is a separate 3-hour-long story, like a movie for your ears, so you can listen to these adventures in any order you like. So join us on a real play D&D quest as we solve mysteries, attempt comedic banter, and enjoy friendship. Fire Breathing Kittens podcast, fantasy, action, mystery.